This is Kincade Salciunas, 97.5 The Fanatic and 97.5thefanatic.com.
Well, the Phils didn't get the win yesterday. They did take care of business, winning the series against San Diego. But, of course, in a game like yesterday, defense comes into question in center field. Thank God John's off today. What is the sense of urgency for you when it comes to the center field position? And Philadelphia, is it a tough place to play? Obviously, we hear it all the time that it is. I want to have a conversation about that. It's Kincade Salciunas, Connor Thomas in for John right here, 97.5 The Fanatic.
This is Kincade Salciunas.
Stars in cities, especially like Philadelphia, they are always on the map, and we should expect more winning out of them.
And we'll go to the Eagles and Jalen Hurts.
I am a believer that your best player, I think there is also a responsibility as the team spokesperson.
Kincade Salciunas. John Kincade, Andrew Salciunas.
97.5 The Fanatic and 97.5thefanatic.com.
And a good Thursday morning, Philadelphia. Andrew Salciunas alongside Connor Thomas is in for John Kincade and back from the joint bachelorette party. How did you survive?
Oh, we survived barely, but it's good to be back here where I can drink a little water instead of anything else.
I do got to ask, was it weird? The joint? No, it wasn't weird.
No, it was fine.
All right. Because I know that's becoming a thing. I talked to my wife about it. She was like, yeah, it's a thing. Don't bust his balls for it. I was like, it's still weirard, but
you can still bust on me for it, but like I don't really worry about
what.
All right.
This early?
Come on.
Jesus, let me have my
1 minute back.
Let me have my coffee first, for crying out loud.
It was a good trip. Everything went well.
I'm glad
everyone enjoyed it.
I'm glad you guys had fun. That's great. Welcome back. John is out the next couple of days. He is in Toronto, taking care of some business. So John out the next couple of days. Connor sitting next to me today. Brendan Gunn producing the show. We've reached the summer period where somebody's going to be out, seems like every single day. John, the next, he'll be back on Tuesday. Then I'm out at the end of the week, going to Lithuania and all that kind of stuff. So we've reached that time. But we appreciate you guys listening no matter who is sitting in which chair. All right, so you've been out and about, clearly. And while you were gone, the Phillies sent down Johan Rojas, and that led to some discourse on the air, as you can imagine. John was very disappointed by the decision. Look, I to be clear with you, I don't see why David Dahl should still be on this roster. I know he hit a home run his first at bat. Are we really awarding him? I know he's a left-handed bat, which is an important piece to have, especially in a Rob Thompson lineup where he likes to use the platoon. He likes to mix guys in, left, right, left, right, left, right. But I know, look, it seems like Johan Rojas got sent down because he's the only guy with options.
Exactly.
Whereas Dahl doesn't, Pache doesn't. Is David Dahl good enough to stay up with the big league club just because he doesn't have options? I don't really think that he is. He has really shown nothing since he has stayed up. But the Phillies are 2-1 since they sent down Johan Rojas. So I don't think we need to make a federal case out of it. But Rojas isn't here anymore. So I want to first get your reaction to Rojas being the odd man out. And I will tell you what it told me. There is no way Dave Dombrowski doesn't trade for a starting outfielder.
Yeah, that's where it leaves you ultimately. I think we're going to end up in the same spot. And I did see some of the tweets. I didn't listen, but I saw some of the tweets of your thoughts on the Rojas.
Yeah.
It basically comes down to options. That is why he is in the minor leagues and other guys are not, because those guys aren't clearing waivers. Remember, there are a lot of other teams in baseball that also need outfielders.
Right.
One of them a division rival that could certainly, and I'm not saying like, oh, Atlanta's going to go get David Dahl, and that's going to be the difference between the Phillies winning.
Right.
It's not that, but you try and keep everybody who could possibly contribute in-house, and there is a world where David Dahl has been an all-star at this level, can contribute in some way to this team. So I think the Phillies wanted to give him a little bit more of a look, and that leads to Rojas going down.
And look, I was okay with Rojas being sent down. As we said before the season started,
wanted him off this team immediately.
No, I did not want this to happen to Johan Rojas. I would rather have it been the opposite, where he starts the season in AAA and works his way back to being a legitimate major league bat, or a major league bat that can hit close to 270, even though 230 is what we asked for, and he did do that.
Right.
He did do that, but there's a difference between 230, where it's all singles, and a 230 where you're also hitting doubles and you're making an actual impact offensively. He's been picked off a couple of times on the base pass. There's part of the reason why Rob Thompson even talked about it, how they want that to be worked on while he's down in AAA. And you can work on those things in AAA. You don't necessarily want to work on those things in the major leagues. Even though they have a huge lead over the Braves in first place of the division, the major leagues is not a place where you work on things.
No, absolutely not. You better come up here, especially for a team like the Phillies, who's leading the National League right now, still in record. You got to be ready to play.
Right.
But the place I'll disagree with you on the Rojas thing, because I know your ultimate worry was confidence.
Confidence is a big part of it, yeah.
I think it's a lot more confidence-inducing to give him the shot to start the season. Tell him, hey, you're our guy from Jump Street.
Hey, you failed. We're going to send you down.
Options. You can have that discussion. And you
Okay.
can say, listen, in a perfect world where we could send somebody else down, we'd love to keep you up here.
If he's playing good enough, there's not even a question that he stays
You
up.
don't have to tell him that. And he probably
He
knows.
knows it.
He knows. But
He knows it.
listen, man, still.
Have you ever been told something and you know exactly what they really mean, but they're just not saying it to you?
Yes, but if they tell you that
Yeah.
enough, maybe it breeds into confidence. If they had told him from Jump Street he wasn't good enough, then you're getting called up by necessity because of injury. Like, there was nothing Rojas was going to do. If he hadn't started on this team, and let's say, I don't know, David Dahl had started up and he got that outfield spot, there was nothing he was going to do in AAA. He wasn't going to hit 300 at the AAA level. So he wasn't going to get called up unless there was an injury. And then you feel like a secondary option.
Well, I don't know if that's true. I mean, he could have played well in AAA. We don't know. I mean,
Right.
obviously we don't know. But
Yeah.
to me, I look at it, and this was my premise from the very beginning. I wanted him to work on his swing, which they said they recreated, right? Like, they changed his entire swing from last year during this offseason, during spring training. And it clear. Look, I was down there. I saw him look horrible at the plate during spring training, and I think he needed more time to work on that swing. Now, to his credit, he went from hitting .046 to 230. Like, he did improve as the season progressed, but they themselves want him to still work on his swing. He could have worked on it for a month. They could have told him, hey, Johan, we're going to call you up in a month.
Yeah.
No matter what, we're going to call you up in a month. Just work on your swing for a little bit. I would rather work on my swing in AAA knowing that I'm going to get called up at some point instead of, oh, my God, I better play well or I'm going to get sent down at some point. And that's exactly what happened. Options or not, he got sent down.
You're right. You're absolutely right. But the thing that we've got to remember, too, is he wasn't really sent down because of the offense. It was because of the offense as part of a Major League Baseball player. But for Johan Rojas, the bigger issue was he hasn't played that platinum glove caliber
he's
defense
not.
and center that we know he's capable of. He hasn't run the bases the way we know he should be capable of with
Right.
that speed. And the other thing to remember about all of this, too, I'm not comparing him to these players. But Bryson Stott was sent down. Alec Boehm was sent down.
Yeah.
I mean, Jose Alvarado, and it's different for relievers because they're kind of up and down depending on performance if they have options. But there have been some really good players on this team that have been sent down, come back up.
Yeah, I don't think he
monster.
stinks. Like
No.
I don't think he stinks. I think he's a legitimate piece for this team moving forward, or a piece that could be moved to get another piece of this team.
Right.
So Jim Bowden, you were out. Jim Bowden of MLB.com and the network, he reported, and he straight up said the Phillies told me, not like here's what I'm hearing. He straight up said the Phillies are telling me that they want to trade for a starting outfielder and a fourth outfielder.
Right.
So it's not going to be, it seems like come the end of trade deadline time, your outfield that right now has guys like Brandon Marsh, let's throw in Johan Rojas, Marsh, Rojas, Pache, Whit Merrifield, David Dahl. Those aren't even going to be your four guys, and Nick Castellanos. Your four guys will be Nick Castellanos, probably Brandon Marsh in left field, a different center fielder, and a guy that's going to platoon with Brandon Marsh. They've told you what they think about Brandon Marsh. He's a platoon player in their eyes. They'll probably let him start some games against left-handed pitching. Rob Thompson even said that. But it seems like they're telling you that he's going to be a platoon player. It looks like they're going to have a totally reshaped outfield. That might mean that Johan Rojas gets traded.
Yeah, it's certainly possible. And I'm not anti-trading Rojas for the right deal if
Right.
you get an improvement. Now, I'd like to see him stay. I don't want to see him thrown away for a guy on a one-year deal who's hitting like 260.
No, I agree with you. Yeah, it
But-
has to be somebody with control.
They also can significantly improve the position. And outfield's been the weak spot of this team. It has.
Oh,
They're-
yeah, it has been.
Like, it's not even close. It's miraculous that they are where they are with the offensive production they've gotten from this outfield.
I gave out numbers one of the days you were gone. They were in the bottom third, if not like bottom five, in some offensive statistical categories with the outfield. Now, a lot of that has to do with Nick Castellanos having a bad year, Brandon Marsh being hurt, and so there you have to have this cycle of the Dahls and the Merrifields and all these guys. But they were in the bottom third, if not bottom like 5, in a lot of statistical categories. Like it's been bad, and they are 49-25. It's amazing.
100%. And that's the thing, right? I know what we're going to get into is kind of how you're evaluating how quickly they need to get to a center field solution, and they still win. Like
They do.
The rational part of me says, I don't know if it matters as much as it looks like it does in a vacuum. When you look at the numbers, they're not great. No one's going to convince me the Phillies outfield has been a bright spot this year, but nobody's going to convince me that it can stop them from winning at this clip. And if they win at this clip, they're going to do pretty darn well in the postseason as well.
All right, so here's you brought it up. How quick do you make a move? So I jokingly said it on Twitter, and for my well-being, I am kind of serious. I'm glad John's off today, because there was a moment in center field that he has been worried about. And look, to his credit, he's not wrong. Like, Brandon Marsh is not as good of a center fielder as Johan Rojas, right? Johan Rojas, even though he's not playing to the clip we expected him to, is still better than Brandon Marsh in center field. Yesterday, it was a 2-1 ball game. The Padres were leading the Phillies 2-1. Bryce Harper ends up hitting a home run in the bottom of the 8th inning, which would have made it 2-2, but unfortunately, it was no longer 2-1. The bases were loaded, and this happened.
That's out to center. It's not that deep. Here comes Marsh, still coming on. He can't get it. It goes by him, and this is trouble. 3 runs will score. Higashioka goes to third, and he'll be there sliding. And it's a 5-1 Padres lead.
I thought Brandon had a beat on this. Obviously, the ball not hit very hard, and unfortunately gets by him. 3-run score.
Oh, and right under his glove. It may have even tipped it a little bit.
It was a tough play. So yesterday, John and I got into it because he believed that Johan Rojas would have made the robbing home run catch that Christian Pache missed. I eventually got him to turn to saying could. Yeah, he originally said would have, and I said, "Come on, dude! Like you can't say would have made that catch." I believe that Johan Rojas could have made that catch yesterday that Brandon Marsh did not make the play on. Now, here's the deal. You know that Johan Rojas being in the lineup still is a net negative at times.
Right.
So you see in 3 games since Rojas has been down, 3 mistakes or could have been made plays that Rojas would have made that were not made because of the guys that have been filling in. Now, the Phillies are 2-1 in those 3 games. But you could tell that the outfield's still an issue.
Absolutely.
So my first question, at 610-632-0975, you can text and you can call in. What is the sense of urgency for you when it comes to acquiring a player? To your point, they're 49-25. Like, if we've been talking about the outfield the way that we're talking about it right now all season long, we'd probably be going cuckoo at this point because they are 49-25. But we're getting close to the trade deadline at the end of July, so we're a little over a month. We're basically 5 weeks away from the MLB trade deadline. If you make a trade now, it's going to cost more than it would come trade deadline time. But the longer you wait, the more teams that will be involved, and it's going to get messy. But what is the sense of urgency for you, Connor Thomas? I want to get Brendan's thoughts on this, and I want to get your thoughts on this at 610-632-0975. When it comes to acquiring a player, and you could tell me straight up, you don't want them to acquire a player, because here's the caveat. For you to get a Luis Robert, for you to get one of these top commodities, top players that you can get for center field, you're going to have to give up prospects. And it's not going to be Connor Thomas and Andrew Salciunas. It's going to be the Justin Crawfords, Andrew Painters. Guys. It's going to be, Aiden Miller's the one guy that I'm not going to touch. But Painter might be a guy that might have to be on a move if you're going to get a Luis Robert who is under control for 3 more years.
Yeah, that's a tough thing, right? My level of urgency is raised from what it would normally be. I'd say, I don't know, 30% out of 100%. Normally, I'd be like, with a team this good, 5%.
Yeah,
whatever.
You'd say, don't worry about it.
Not even, like, they'll take care of it when they take care of it. We're not in any rush. We still got plenty of time. But I'm not ready for the all-in trade big-time prospects move because I don't think you have to do that to improve this outfield. You need to find a guy that hits 270. You don't really need that much power because you have so much out of the rest of the lineup and can field their position adequately to above average. Like, I don't think you even really need to make this move to add defense because if defense was the issue, Rojas can come back up and just play.
He can come back up.
He can play better defense in the outfield than anybody on this team right now. not named Christian Pache, and Pache is a negative at the plate too. So, I don't know. I say all that to say I'm not in a rush to make a move, but if I am going to do something quickly, it's going to be a steady the ship move as opposed to a Luis Robert. We get somebody.
Well, now, see, here's what's interesting. So you would still bring back Rojas up at some point. You know Castellanos is playing right field, so that means there's only one other spot in the outfield, and that's between Brandon Marsh and whoever this player you would acquire. Are you willing to trade maybe not Aiden Miller and Andrew Painter, but you're still going to trade a decent prospect? I will remind you of Logan O'Hoppe. You traded your big catching prospect for what ended up being a platoon player. If you're Dave Dombrowski, are you trading another top 5 prospect, because that's what O'Hoppe was in the Phillies farm system, another top 5 prospect for another platoon player? I don't know if he could do that.
Yeah, I'm not touching the top 3 or 4 guys, but if you move someone that good, you better be getting Luis Robert.
Right, but then what you're saying is you're getting another platoon player. That means Brandon Marsh is still a platoon guy. That means he's still not getting his opportunities against left-handed hitters. And if you're trading the 5th prospect, I don't know, I'll look up who the farm system is right now. If you're trading the 5th prospect for another guy that could just fill in, that's another platoon player. And do you want to do that? Is that a good selling point to the Phillies organization?
No, long-term. But in this year, like, platoon players can make a difference. Let's remember 2008 that you started with platoon.
Absolutely.
And you end up getting a guy that makes a big difference on that team, and Jason Worth becoming the guy. But it took time. At the start of the year, he was a platoon guy. So you just need somebody. That's the crazy thing, right? Find someone who's having a good year. They don't have to be a great career outfielder. They don't have to be someone you're tied to for a long time. When we talk about a team in a championship contention window, it's not necessarily acquiring someone with 3 years of team control that's going to be here for a long time that's worth spending prospects on. You can find someone who gets hot, and they can carry you where you need to go, especially because the bar is so low based on where the outfield is played.
Okay. And you know how I am about prospects. I don't care. Yeah. I don't care. If you trade for a Major League Baseball player, I'm in favor of that. Like, I went back to 2022. Logan O'Hoppe was their 5th ranked prospect in the Phillies organization. You trade him for what ultimately became a platoon player in Brandon Marsh. Right now, your 5th ranked prospect is Starlin Caba, the shortstop who's in what, like rookie ball?
Yeah.
All right, like Trey Turner's shortstop for the next 9 years. Like, what do I care? Caba. But here's what's interesting. This is my point about not caring about prospects. I went back to 2022. So Bryson Stott was their top-ranked prospect. Okay, it's worked out for them. Mick Abel was number 2. The guy can't get an out in the minor leagues anymore.
Right.
He gives up 5 home runs. He probably gives up more home runs than he gets outs at this point. Andrew Painter's number 3. That's fair. Johan Rojas is back in the minor leagues, and Logan O'Hoppe is on a different team. That's why I don't care about prospects. This is 2 years ago. It's not like I'm going back 10 years. I'm going 2 years.
Yeah, I know. But you had a guy in Rojas that was playing in National League Championship Series and hit 300 in the regular season last year. Minimal at bats, but that dude is a major league player.
Last year, Painter was number 1. It's probably still is number 1 if I look at 2024. He is. Mick Abel was number 2. I just talked about Mick Abel. Griff McGarry was number 3. He's not really all that good either.
Yeah, I got you.
Like, these are your top. Like, this is why I don't sit here and go, oh my God, you can't get rid of the top prospects.
Well,
because these top prospects fall apart.
Some do.
Most do.
Most do, but you can't trade everybody. And I know you're not saying.
Yes,
I know
you can.
I was just going to say, I know you're not saying to trade everybody, but I guess you are. Listen, the team is good enough right now. If there was no trade deadline, if trades were banned today, right? Or if trades were banned today for the Phillies and other teams could still make it, I'm still going to feel like this team is the best in the National League with this roster as constructed. So it's hard to have.
I'm always about getting better, man.
I agree with you.
Even if you think they're the best, get better.
I want them to get better. But we need to remember that's a want, not necessarily a need.
Dude, it might be a need. If I'm being honest with you, it might be a need. They're the best. They have the best record in the National League right now. It might still be a need.
Yes, and we have 5 weeks to determine. If in 3 weeks this team struggles a little bit and there's big trades in the division and in the league, then that changes. But that's why I'm not too urgent right now.
All right, so what is your sense of urgency when it comes to acquiring an outfielder? And that's a twofold question. One is timeline. Like, do you want them to make a trade today? No, I don't want them to make a trade today. But the other bit is how much are you willing to spend? And you guys know how I feel about prospects. There is one guy, I don't want to trade Aiden Miller because a baseball scout just compared him to Mike Schmidt. Now, I heard Cody Ashley compared to Chase Utley before, and that flamed out. But I've seen enough Aiden Miller film so far that I go, all right, this guy looks like he could be a decent ball player.
Yeah.
But that's the one guy, like Andrew Painter, his arm already blew up. Like, Sixto Sanchez was supposed to come back from his Tommy John surgery and be Pedro Martinez. He got fat. So, like, I don't know if Andrew Painter's a lock to come back, be the great pitcher we expected. Would love to hear from you, 610-632-0975. All right, coming up next, we went longer than I thought on that conversation. We got two seam heads in here, so of course that happens. So coming up next, I want to play a clip from you from Keith Pompey, who joined the best show ever yesterday. Or should I just call them the afternoon show? We're at war. I don't know if you know that.
Oh, I've heard.
We're no longer Kincade and Salciunas on that show. We're now just the morning show. So now they're just the afternoon show.
I leave for like 5 days, and you guys.
Oh yeah, we've went to war.
My goodness.
So like I can't even call them best show ever. I'm gonna call them the afternoon show. So the afternoon show had Keith Pompey on yesterday, and look, to their credit, it was a great conversation. They asked Keith about Doc Rivers saying Philadelphia was a tough place to play because Doc Rivers always comes up with excuses and it's never his fault. So Keith Pompey did say it is a tough place to play, and he gave his reasons why. I would like to play it for you, and I'd like us to discuss it, whether or not it's good that it's a tough place to play. It's Kincade and Salciunas. Connor in for John today for the next couple of days right here on 97.5 The Fanatic.
Fanatic Sports Update.
Bills can't 6:28 on Kincade Salciunas. Connor Thomas in for John today, back from the joint bachelorette party. Not his.
No.
Our YouTube feed thought that you were the one that was the bachelor getting married.
I've never mentioned a girl or a girlfriend once on air, and the next thing you know, I'm married. Calm down, everybody.
Well, you're not
Sound
married. You don't get married at the bachelorette party.
Engaged.
Engaged, yeah.
Slow down. These people are starting to sound like my mom.
No, it's Connor's older brother or younger brother. Younger,
That's right.
yes. Act's older than you. So
Easy.
congratulations to your younger brother, I guess, soon. Do you say congratulations when they're in the bachelorette party?
I don't think so.
No, you just drink and have a lot of fun. So I'm glad you guys had a good time. All right, so we started the show talking about the sense of urgency for you when it comes to acquiring an outfielder. And that's a twofold question. Urgency in terms of time, like do you want them to make a move today or this week or next week? And twofold, do you want them to trade a top prospect? You guys know where I stand with this. I don't care. Prospects mean nothing to me. They really don't. And I know that's probably wrong.
Yes,
I know that it is because you need to be able to come up with players through the farm system in order to keep on winning. Like I saw a tweet not that long ago about the Phillies homegrown players that are on this roster, and it's actually still one of the lowest in baseball because they've signed and traded for everybody. But if you're winning, I don't care if you played for AAA Lehigh or not. Like, I really don't freaking care. I know people have an emotional attachment, which is why Bryson Stott and his lack of productivity this year, I don't think he gets as criticized as Nick Castellanos because Castellanos was paid to come here to perform, whereas Bryson Stott is coming up through the ranks and hoping that he performs. And so he gets a much longer leash because he's a kid coming up through the farm system than as opposed to Nick Castellanos. Dude, if you're winning, I don't freaking care where you came from.
I don't either. But again, these major league players come from somewhere. They were prospects at some point. And you're going to have to hit on some. It's not just for this year, right? This has to be, as much as this is an all-in year, I know the way that this season is going to progress, especially on this program, I'm going to be the guy that has to constantly try and remind everyone, yes, you want to win the World Series this year, but you're in cap Armageddon. Not that there's a cap, but
no cap.
You're in, fine, luxury tax Armageddon. You know what I mean? It's going to be very hard to continue to pay these guys these amounts when contracts come up on guys like Schwarber and Real Muto and Castellanos. You're going to have lower cost guys that fill those spots, and that's only going to come from your farm system.
All right. Look, it might be a logical way to look at it, but I'm not logical. I want to win, and I don't think a prospect helps me win. Just like I don't think this 16th overall pick for the NBA helps the Sixers win, and I'm seeing more and more reports that they're interested in drafting a player, and I don't think that actually helps them win.
Dude,
right?
It's like that girl from the taco commercial. Why not both?
Why not both? No.
Yeah.
I you know why not both? Because prospects don't always work out.
I'm not saying keep all of them.
Guys that have pedigrees in the major leagues and you trade for them or you sign them via free agency, you have a better shot of them performing.
I totally agree.
I think there are also a lot of people that are stained by Nick Castellanos not necessarily playing up to his contract, and that's part of the reason why people, I think, are afraid to be spenders.
Really?
What if it doesn't work here?
Yeah, I don't know that I've gotten that sense.
Or I know Philadelphia fans just love the diamond in the rough homegrown talent.
We love
that's
us
number
some
one.
us.
Yeah, that's number one. So we'd love to hear from you on the text line, phone line, 610-632-0975. But the other thing I want to get into today, and this is kind of a all sports conversation because it's about Philadelphia fans. So this fits every single mold. I want to play you a clip from the afternoon show yesterday. Keith Pompey joined them, and they got into the conversation that Doc Rivers. Did you hear the Doc Rivers thing? Were you here or were you gone at that point?
Oh, I heard it. I was still here.
Yeah, Doc Rivers said how Philadelphia's a tough place to play, blah, blah, blah. Screw you, dude. You're always coming up with excuses. But they asked Keith about it, and this is what he had to say.
Philly is a tough place to play because I think there's a very knowledgeable fan base. There's also a blue-collar fan base. This city is like if you come here and you don't give it 110%, people are going to rag you. I mean, it's a reason why, like, a guy like T.J. McConnell could come back here and he doesn't have to pay for another meal. But it's also a reason why a guy like Ben Simmons, who never worked on his shot, people hate him now. I don't think anything's wrong with it, but it's not for everyone. And I feel like if you're a pro athlete and you just want to come here and get the max and make a lot of money, this isn't the place for you because they're going to call you out.
So I want to talk about this. First, let me say I love that we hold our players to a higher standard. Like, I love that.
Couldn't agree more.
We should. Like, these guys get paid handsomely. Even the vet minimum player gets paid more than, like, our salaries combined, right? Like, they make a lot of money. They make a handsome living. They get to travel the world. So I don't cry tears over the vet minimum or the mid-level exemption's $10 million for a year to play basketball, right? The only really sport where that rookie contract is awful is baseball, because you're getting paid to play low A and you're probably living at some stranger's house, right? But once you get to the show, even if you're making a very low contract before you reach arbitration, you're still making close to $1 million, which is more than any of us will see in our lifetime probably, right? So I love that we hold our players to a higher standard. But I do have to ask this question. Do you believe it actually works? Or do you think it even matters? Because here's the deal. We've seen 2 championships in 40 years.
Yes, but I don't know that, like, it does matter. It is a good... Here's what my issue is. Does Boston not do it?
No, they do.
Does New York not do it? Are there not other cities
What
in
has
this
New
country?
York won recently?
They've got a couple Super Bowls.
Okay.
Yeah, like, I don't know. I'm just thinking my lifetime.
But, like, I don't think... I'm not down there.
Okay.
I don't think Texas Rangers fans hold the Rangers to the same standard they do the Dallas Cowboys, right? Like, I don't think it's even close. And look, the Cowboys have been a mess for 30-plus years, which is amazing. And the Texas Rangers just won a World Series last year.
Yes, but that's recency bias. They were
The Houston Astros were a dynasty, and I don't think Houston Astros fans really existed until they started winning.
Yeah. I think it's just looking too deep into something. I don't know that the fan base affects the team year over year over year, their ability to build a team or win a championship. I think there are other cities like Philadelphia in this vein that have had success. I think that disproves it. I think there's a lot more that goes into it. That's why I think it's a good thing. I think we should always do it.
No, I think we should too. I don't think we should all of a sudden change. But I'm just wondering if it actually works, because here's the deal. I know that the Phillies have acquired a lot of top talent. Kyle Schwarber signed here. Castellanos signed here. Bryce Harper signed here. Trey Turner signed here. You were able to sign top free agents in the given year that they were available, right? It was Machado and Harper. It was Trey Turner, and that was it. It was Schwarber and Castellanos, and you got both of them, right? So for the Phillies, it's worked. I know Steven Nelson is not Darrelle Revis, but remember we played that clip, it was when this show first started?
Yeah.
Where Steven Nelson talked about how Philadelphia wasn't for him. Steven Nelson was a professional cornerback. There's probably other players that we just don't know about that could have come here that decided they didn't want to for the reasons that Keith Pompey pointed out. They didn't want to come to a place where they really had to worry about being held to a certain standard, being held to the fire night in and night out. And look, shame on them. Because once you succeed here, you see what Jason Kelce is. Jason Kelce's a freaking mayor. People wanted to fight a random woman in Margate because she started yelling at Kylie Kelce, right? Like, people wanted to go to war with that woman. But still, what has it really led to? It's led to a almost 50-year drought in hockey, a 40-year drought now in basketball. Baseball is on the come up, clearly.
Yes.
And football is always relevant because I think they have to be in the city. But it's led to 2 championships in 40 years.
I understand entirely what you're saying. I think it's not what causes it. I think the Sixers have been a cursed organization for reasons that have nothing to do with the fan base. Like, nothing to do with the fan base. And I'm not blaming any individual. We've had this conversation multiple times about the numerous GMs and president of basketball operations that just can't figure it out. Like, that's kind of where we're at. And I hope that changes.
Right.
I do have some level of faith in Daryl Morey. The Flyers, the ownership of that organization has had a lot of criticism from the fan base. I don't think it's because Flyers fans are demanding of the players that they haven't won a cup since.
No, if anything, I believe it's changed.
Yeah.
But there were Flyers fans that didn't care. Like, as long as they had a team on the ice, they were happy to go to Flyers
demanding
games.
Enough at points.
Like, the last
maybe?
couple of years, the first time we've seen the seats actually not filled.
Right. Here's the one thing I would ask on this. We can be a tough place to play. Like, Philadelphia can be.
Yeah.
But the fan base needs to be self-aware. And I think we struggle with that sometimes when people take it too far. There will be people, I've heard this from numerous fans in this city, where they're unfairly criticizing a player about hustle or work ethic or something. And I can point to, like, so many examples of this guy's trying to get better. He's just not that good. Or
Right.
this guy's going to be better. He's just slumping right now, a la Trey Turner last year.
Right.
And there is a mentality of, screw it. He needs to be better. We're going to yell at him anyway. And I think we need to understand how tough of a place this is to play and have exceptions.
Yeah, I think it's a good point. And part of the reason why I bring this up, every once in a while, I think fans, and look, I put myself in the conversation of fans, right? Just because
Yes.
I do sports talk radio, I am a fan like you. I'm a Phillies fan, Eagles fan, Sixers fan, Flyers fan. Go Union, right? I'm a Philadelphia sports fan. But because of our jobs, we have to be probably more critical than the rest. So yesterday, we had a conversation, Connor. Not even a conversation. I asked people to give Nick Castellanos credit. Because Nick Castellanos, in the first 2 games of this series, was 6 for 9 with 4 doubles, including the game-winning ground rule double in Game 2 of this series. All I said was, hey, can you send in a text saying, attaboy, Nick, or call in? Just give the guy some credit. Nothing. But if John and I do a show being critical of Jalen Hurts and his lack of a response to Nick Sirianni, we get destroyed because we're being too critical. And, oh, the evil media, you're going to destroy something good. Oh, you're going to run this player out of town. Well, hold on a second. Why don't you look in the mirror? All I asked you to do was give Nick Castellanos a pat on the back for having 2 very, great games. Games that you paid him to do. And people couldn't do it.
And that's the thing. That's what I'm talking about. There's a stubbornness with this fan base. And we have it with certain players, too. I'm not, pointing the finger just at them. I'm pointing the finger at the city, including us. If you root for a Philadelphia sports team, this is probably about you with some player in your life.
Absolutely.
Where you come up with an opinion, and because this is such a tough place to play, it's probably a boisterous one,
right.
Which is
Yeah,
awesome because
absolutely.
we do that every single day. That's how we make our living. So, again, not faulting anybody on this. And there are times where we get in too deep with players. And I think this fan base is in too deep with Nick Castellanos. It's a great example.
Yeah. I couldn't get a text.
Right.
It's easy. You text 610-632-0975. You texted, good job, Nick. Couldn't get it.
I'm not telling you he's an all-star this year. I'm not telling you he's an MVP caliber player. I'm not telling you he played up to the contract. But because of the aloof nature and the perceived, he doesn't want to work on this or that.
Yeah.
It doesn't think about it. I don't zone in the regular season. People have already made up the opinion that, okay, I'm not going to like this guy. He could still do good things. And we need to have a better feel for how critical we can be.
All right, so let's discuss this. The phone number, you know it. Text line 610-632-0975. Your sense of urgency when it comes to acquiring a center fielder. If you even think that they need to acquire a center fielder, let us know where you stand on that. And Philadelphia being a tough place to play. We all know that it's true. I mean, we say it's easy. If you try hard, we're going to celebrate you. And that is accurate. But once you make one little mistake or once you say something that probably doesn't go over all that well, you're going to hear it from people for days. Does it actually work, us being so tough? Does it matter, us being so tough? We'd love to hear from you, 610-632-0975. We hit the text line hard. Coming up next, it's Kincade and Salciunas. Connor in for John today right here, 97.5.
Kincade and Salciunas.
97.
Salciunas on this Wendy's Thursday morning, Connor. This is why you came back.
The only reason I wanted that burrito.
Seriously, this guy takes off 3 days. I'm surprised you're not off tomorrow. Like, I'm surprised you didn't just come in today, to be honest with you.
Hey, we'll see. It might be a call out.
Well, it's a Wendy's Thursday morning, which means we get our breakfast burrito coming up at some point. But you also have 4 chances to win a $50 Wendy's gift card. Let's give out the first one right now. Connor, give me a number. Welcome back.
Thank you. Let's go with 6.
All right, call number 6 to the contest line, 215-263-0975. We'll win our first of 4 Wendy's $50 gift cards. The best nugs are now even better. Wendy's new saucy nugs. Take the nugs you love and sauce them up in bold flavors, including buffalo, honey barbecue, garlic parm, and spicy ghost pepper. Try them all today for a whole new way to nug. It's got to be a Wendy's, open till midnight or later at participating U.S. Wendy's. Hours may vary by location. Call our number 6, 215-263-0975. We'll win gift card number 1. All right, so let's get to the text line. Be gun in your chair today, Connor. So Brendan is handling the text. Brendan, good morning. How are you?
Good morning. What's going on, guys? Happy to be here on today's 69th show of
69.
Kincade and Salciunas.
Nice. That's also why I came back.
I said to John yesterday, you're missing a big one. And then he said, yeah, you and Connor can handle that. And I was like, I don't think you know what I'm talking about because that sounds very weird that you just said that.
Yeah, we're not going to do that.
Also, Be Gun, congratulations because you didn't come on the air yesterday.
No.
The parlay is still alive.
Still live up to 216. I'm still going to let it ride, though, because the Oilers are coming back. They're hot.
You got Game 6 tomorrow night, 8 o'clock. Look, at this point, I think you let it ride.
No, he's right.
At this point, you let it ride.
Come on, man.
It's amazing that they are making their way back. So, Brendan, we're rooting for you. Everybody here except one person is rooting for you.
And she's not getting any free breakfast when I win.
Nope,
Wow.
absolutely not. I said a beer. Give me a beer and I'll be happy. All right, so what do we have on the text line? Our conversations today. What is your sense of urgency when it comes to center field? Urgency twofold. Timeliness, right? How quick do you want it to happen, or do you not want it to happen at all? And how much are you willing to spend? The other conversation about Philadelphia being a tough place to play. Keith Pompey said it yesterday with the best show ever, afternoon show, excuse me. And look, it is a tough place to play. I love being a Philadelphia sports fan. I love who we are. Does it actually work, though? Would love to hear from you guys. 610-632-0975. What do you got on the text line, B-Gun?
Yeah, we got a couple on the Phillies trade scenarios. A couple on both sides, actually. So Miz from the Northeast, he says, personally, I'm not big on prospects or draft picks. I'd rather go for a proven commodity. Center field was a weak link going into the season. The team is in win-now mode. Worry about the future 4 to 5 years from now.
Yeah, I mean, that's a good point. That center field, we talked about center field before opening day. Like, so are we really shocked that they should probably acquire somebody?
No, they did it in the offseason with Whit Merrifield. Like, they've needed somebody. This organization has needed an outfielder since 1883. Like, sorry, they have. They put together good teams. We know about the homegrown outfielders and how they haven't made all-star teams.
Oh, no, it's been bad.
Yeah.
They flucked out. Like, think about it. Shane Victorino was a Rule 5 guy.
Yes.
Jason Worth, you took a flyer on because he had, like, these wrist injuries that nobody thought he would actually become a Major League Baseball player.
Now, look at him now, a horse racing champion.
Damn right he is. Like, some of the best seasons, it's been free agent outfielders they traded for, or outfielders hired through a Rule 5 draft. Like, it hasn't been since what? I mean, Pat Burrell, but you didn't even draft him as an outfielder. You drafted him as an infielder. You haven't really had many guys that have come up through the farm system that became an outfielder. So that's a great point by the Miz that it was a conversation that we had before the season even started.
Yes, but what's not a great point is saying 4 to 5 years until you worry about these prospects. The problem is as soon as Zach Wheeler's extension kicks in next year, you are in the highest threshold of the luxury tax, and you got to keep all these guys, and if there's something you want to change, it's going to have to come at a much more affordable option. So it's not 4 to 5 years, it's 2 to 3 years that you're going to need to have somebody come up or a couple guys come up to start evening out the age of this roster.
But here's the deal. Like Luis Robert, right? Who that's going to cost you the most to try to get him with prospects. You're not breaking the bank with him.
No.
He's owed $15 million next year, $20 the year after that, $20 the year after that as club options. And, oh, by the way, that's when Schwarber's off the books. Castellanos will eventually get off the books.
Right. That's totally fine if you want to make that move. But the prospects you could be trading for could be listen, Ranger Suarez is going to have to get paid sometime in the next year.
Yeah, he will be.
He's going to get the bag. Like, you're going to have to start having dudes come up out of this minor league system that mitigate the high prices you've given to players like Bryce Harper, Trey Turner, Zach Wheeler, Aaron Nola. And if you empty the coffers this year for a team that's already really good, you're putting yourself at risk of not being able to sustain this.
See, you keep on going back to the team that's already good. You're correct. Like, as bad as the outfield's been this year, they're 49-25. I want to get I want to get better.
Yes.
There's no locks in sports. I want it to almost seem like a surefire lock that the Phillies are in the NLCS.
You're not going to get that.
I know you can't.
There's a team with Shohei Ohtani and Freddie Freeman and Mookie Betts and a great pitching rotation.
I said NLCS.
Okay, yeah, but
that you would. I don't know how it would look. I imagine you wouldn't face them until the NLCS.
Yeah. I will also say with Atlanta, like, I know where they're at in the standings. If you face that team in a postseason series, I'm not going to look at that as, the Phillies are clearly better.
Of course not.
Like, there is no guarantee. You are pretty good. It's not just spend all your money on something because, we have a look. There has to be a little bit of caution. A little bit. And I'm not saying don't improve the team. I'm saying think about it a little bit harder than I think this fan base is thinking about it right now.
All right, what else do we got, B-Gun?
Yeah, I'll check in on the other topic. We just got a good text. It's not only hustle, it's honesty that will go a long way for the average fan in Philadelphia. Case in point, Alec Boehm. I think Philly fans appreciate honesty. You're just not going to get away with BS in Philadelphia.
That's actually an interesting point. Now, and Alec Boehm, to the Alec Boehm point, like, he was honest about his dislike of being here.
Yes.
Now, I find it interesting. I guess it depends on how you say it. Because Sean Rodriguez once called the Phillies an entitled fan base.
Yeah.
So did Jimmy Rollins, though, a little bit.
Kind of. I think it also it depends on who it's coming from. I don't know. Like, the Alec Boehm thing was amazing. He got a standing ovation the next day.
And we all kind of felt like he deserved it, and it was coming when we heard those comments after the game.
I don't
right?
think he deserved it.
Well, we kind of felt that the fan base was reacting to it positively when you saw the reaction to his comments after.
Right. When he spoke about it, he said, look, it was a tough time, made 3 hours in a game.
That's it. How quickly do you see people own up to that?
Not often. It's a good point. Like, I don't think Sean Rodriguez has ever changed his opinion on Philadelphia.
This city, and it's tough because we're ingrained in it every day, but it's hard to put a handle on how we evaluate players because there are so many damn unique situations as a result of how tough
so
we
many.
are.
Yeah.
It's almost hard to build the standard.
Right. Like, look, the standing ovation for Trey Turner worked, right? People gave a standing ovation for Ben Simmons. Where's he at now?
Right.
The guy's barely playing in the NBA anymore. It's interesting. I mean, all of it matters. And it's funny. We played that Keith Pompey clip, and we'll play it again as the show goes on. TJ doesn't have to buy a beer in here. Ben Simmons is hated. Ben Simmons is still a better basketball player. I'm not saying
should be.
I don't want him on my team, but he should be the better basketball player.
Right.
TJ McConnell is obviously turning out to have a better career than Ben Simmons. Now, because Ben Simmons literally doesn't play. All right, coming up next, we'll reset the entire show in case you're just tuning in. We'd love to get more of your texts. You can call in as well, 610-632-0975. And also, is the LeBron James window still open? Rich Paul, his agent, spoke on his behalf. Connor read me the quotes this morning. I missed it. Is the window still open? We'll talk about that next. Kincade Salciunas, Connor and for John, 97.5 The Fanatic. Fanatic. Connor Thomas in for John today. Will be tomorrow as well. All right, so coming up around 7:10, Connor's going to read you some quotes from Rich Paul, the agent of LeBron James, longtime friend of LeBron James, of course. And I wonder if it means the window for LeBron to Philly is still open. So we'll read into the quotes probably way too much, but that's what we do on Sports Talk Radio in the month of June. Before I reset the show, something funny I saw on Twitter. So you were not in. We talked about the passing of Willie Mays a little bit yesterday.
Yes,
and we did a fun little topic. If I said the sport of baseball, the first person you think of is
Roy Halladay.
Really, Roy Halladay. It's interesting.
He was my guy.
And it didn't have to be Philadelphia.
Nope.
Just period. Yeah, and it's funny. We, out of all four sports, me, Tom, and John had different answers, except hockey. We all said Gretzky. Everybody said Gretzky, but we all had different answers for the other three sports. It was a fun little exercise that we did. But, I've been looking at a lot of Willie Mays stuff. Obviously, I'm a baseball fan, so my algorithm is pretty much all baseball. And Willie Mays playing stickball. There was a video of him playing stickball in the streets of New York City. What do you think one of the responses is?
I don't know.
Hey, man, where the heck is Wilt's 100-point game?
Oh, of course. That is weird.
It is weird.
That's very weird.
I'm watching Willie Mays play stickball in New York City. Multiple camera angles, by the way. But I can't get footage of Wilt Chamberlain scoring 100 points.
I watched a full Hank Aaron at bat the other day.
Yes.
There's no way there wasn't someone there with a camera.
One of these days it's going to drop. One of these days. It has to. There's no way there's zero footage of Wilt Chamberlain scoring 100 points. But that's a conspiracy theory for another day.
Yes, it is.
All right, here's what we're talking about today. You can call in, text in 610-632-0975. It's been a fun start to the show. If you're just tuning in, we started off with the Phillies and the sense of urgency that you have when it comes to the center field position. Yesterday, Phillies lose. They won the series, but they lose 5-2. In the top of the eighth inning, the bases were loaded, and Brandon Marsh, I don't want to say misplayed a ball in center field, but he did not make a play in center field that you could make the case, a legitimate case that Johan Rojas makes the play. Brandon Marsh had to slide forward for it, whereas maybe Johan Rojas catches it on the shoestrings, right? Because he is quicker and does have better reads off the bat. But, of course, Johan Rojas is playing for AAA Lehigh, and Brandon Marsh is now playing starting center field, platooning with Christian Pache. He does not make the play. 3 runs score. The Phillies are now down 5-1. Bryce Harper actually hits a home run in the bottom of the eighth inning to make it 5-2. If that play doesn't happen, it's a 2-2 ball game. Obviously, there's a lot of ifs when it comes to sports, and who knows how the game ends up playing out. Clearly, them sending down Johan Rojas and Brandon Marsh playing center, Christian Pache playing center field, you're not a World Series champion in my eyes, even though you were in the World Series 2 years ago with Marsh as your center fielder. I think Dave Dombrowski knows that he needs to get a center fielder. It's been reported by Jim Bowden earlier this week that they're going to try to trade for a starting outfielder and a fourth outfielder. So you're being basically told they're going to try to improve the position. My question for you today, it's 610-632-0975, is your sense of urgency when it comes to it. How quickly you want them to do it. Do you want them to wait to the trade deadline? And how much are you willing to spend? When it comes to the prospect conversation, you know where I stand. Connor is much more tight with the purse when it comes to the prospects.
Yeah, but only because you're so loose with the purse. You want everybody can go.
Except Aiden Miller.
Except Aiden Miller. But, again, the urgency is the tricky thing here. This team is really, really good. I know we keep saying it, but that's an important part of the equation. You can fix stuff with every team. Every team can be improved. The Dodgers, the Yankees, the Orioles, like all of these teams that are really good right now, they have spots where they could be better, and they have spots they're going to try and improve. So I'm not saying don't do anything. Don't take that as this. What I am saying is we can wait. We have the luxury of allowing Dave Dombrowski to figure this out. The trade deadline is a big game of chicken.
It is.
And you know what happens when you swerve off the road first? I guess that's not the right. Let's say it's chicken where you're just running at your buddy.
You lose.
I'm talking about a car crash. You lose. And Dave Dombrowski is not going to do that. He did it all offseason where he held straight on Blake Snell and Jordan Montgomery and these guys and said, I trust our organization. I trust our pitching staff. He's going to do it again. So my faith in Dave Dombrowski is also a huge part of my lack of urgency on this.
Okay, and that's fair. But we also know that to get better players, you're going to have to pay more.
Yes.
Whether you're playing chicken or not.
Right. Right.
bottom line is you're going to have to pay more. So are you willing to pay more for Luis Robert, or are you just going to give up your fifth prospect of Starlin Cabo, who's not going to play here? Like, let's face it. I know he's only 18, so 10 years from now he's only going to be 28. But are you really going to keep him in the farm system that long? Like, no. And he's a shortstop. You have Trey Turner, and if Trey Turner ends up moving them over to second base, you have Bryson Stott, who's going to play shortstop. It's probably Starlin Cabo probably won't play for the Philadelphia Phillies.
That'd be a totally fine trade for me, just because he's blocked. But if it was a different, like, number 5 overall prospect, and this is why prospects are weird. If it's a position you may need in the next 2 to 3 years, and they're close, then I'm not looking to offload top 5 guys. I'm looking more in the range of 8 to 15 and move a couple of those guys.
So you're gonna move 8 to 15, sorry. Because Simone Muzziotti, he was another top prospect. Yeah. He's down to 18 now.
Yeah, I mean...
Carlos De La Cruz, he's 12.
Well, he's really tall. I kind of like...
Dude. Can I tell you something? Slowest bat speed I've ever seen. Two spring trainings back-to-back, I've watched that guy swing. Slowest bat speed I've ever seen.
Well, yeah, he's like the giant from Jack and the Beanstalk. They don't move fast, dude.
Yeah, I know. So, like, he's probably not going to ever be good. Like, people, dude,
maybe not.
It was amazing.
A lot of these guys will never be good.
When he would get announced, both years I've been down there, he gets a standing ovation because I think it's almost, I don't want to say freak show because 6'8"'s not freak show. It's almost like when Boban gets off the bench and people start applauding even though everyone knows that Boban Marjanovic is going to play like probably 6 minutes in the game. Carlos De La Cruz is not. I don't think he's going to be any good.
Right. There are plenty of guys like that.
So I'll trade him.
Yes, you can trade him. I'm not saying don't trade him. I'm not saying don't get better. I'm saying that if you feel this team needs to make a major splash move at the trade deadline, you're wrong. They do not need to. You can want them to.
Oh, I want them to.
You can want them to.
Yeah.
But where this discussion takes a turn are the people who are going to tell me that this team isn't going to win unless they do this. This team is going to win and win consistently the rest of the year and in the postseason. I'm not telling you they're going to win the World Series, but
there's no such thing as a lock.
There is no, this team has to do this to guarantee success, because even that's not a guarantee. That's why we need to be a little bit more cautious than I think people are being.
All right, Big Gun, what do we have on the text line about the Phillies? And then we'll play this Keith Pompey clip for you again. And LeBron James, the window's still open. Talk about that as well, come up in a few minutes.
All right, we got Chris from Lancaster checking in. He says the Phillies got to 20, 30, and 40 wins first, but not 50 because their offense slowed down. There is not enough power in the outfield between Castellanos, Marsh, and Pache. Go get power hitting in the outfield ASAP. Trade anyone not named Aiden Miller.
Thank you for the text, Chris. Now, I don't think it has to be a race to wins to determine whether or not a team's good or not.
It's also not why they weren't first to 50 wins. London was the reason they were not first to 50 wins.
Yeah,
the Yankees won like 5 games.
They had to take times off, yeah.
That's the only reason. So, whatever.
But still, I mean, look, I get what he's saying, though. The offensive production in the outfield has been horrible all season long, and that includes Nick Castellanos, right? It's been horrible all season. But if you see, I know, Connor, you're not wrong when you say, well, they're still winning. I don't want to bank on them, well, they're still winning. I don't want to, it pains me even to say the line. It pains me, dude, when I hear John say it doesn't matter till it matters. But I get what he's saying.
I totally understand.
Like, if you go into the playoffs and you saw the bats go ice cold last year, and I know a lot of it had to do with the top paid players going ice cold. The only guy that actually played consistently in the playoffs, in the NLCS, I should say, last year was Brandon Marsh. But if you have 3 outfielders that are doing nothing for you, that's 3 out of your 9 spots. That's 3 outs. That's what, at least 12 outs if you get 4 at-bats?
Yeah, dude. Listen, if Dave Dombrowski does not add an outfielder or do everything in his power to add an outfielder to this team at the deadline, he should be walked out of the building at the end of the year. Like, it would be that negligent to not add to the outfield. And I think he knows that.
Yeah, he definitely knows that.
So they're going to do something. The problem is people look at it as like it has to happen now. It has to be the best outfielder available. No. You can add a guy at the deadline that's not going to cost you too much, that will improve this outfield and put you in a better spot to win, and it could be all you need. And the other thing you have to remember, too, we're not geniuses in here. Nobody knows the future.
Speak for yourself, dude.
Okay.
Speak for yourself.
I'm not saying we know, but nobody knows this player is a guarantee you're going to win. Just remember that.
All right. Speak for yourself. Okay, the other thing that we're getting into, Philadelphia. we all know it's a tough place to play, but we also know that it's easy to win over fans, right? You say the right things, you hustle, you have a little bit of talent. It's a pretty easy place to play. But we know that there are people that are probably afraid to play in Philadelphia because they think it might be too much. Steven Nelson has been on the record, former cornerback of the Eagles. He did not want to come back here. He said, it's more of a me problem than a you problem, but that place isn't for me. So there might be other players that have felt that same way that just have never signed here or that have just never said it. Here's Keith Pompey on the afternoon show yesterday talking about Philadelphia being a difficult place to play.
Philly is a tough place to play because I think there's a very knowledgeable fan base. There's also a blue-collar fan base. This city is like if you come here and you don't give it 110%, people are going to rag you. I mean, it's a reason why, like, a guy like T.J. McConnell could come back here and he doesn't have to pay for another meal. But it's also a reason why a guy like Ben Simmons, who never worked on his shot, people hate him now. I don't think anything's wrong with it, but it's not for everyone. And I feel like if you're a pro athlete and you just want to come here and get the max and make a lot of money, this isn't the place for you because they're going to call you out.
So Keith Pompey talks about how it is a difficult place to play. My question for you, does it actually work? And does it actually matter? Like, does it matter how we are as fans? Do we actually affect things positively or negatively? People will point to the Trey Turner moment that it did affect him positively. I could probably point to a million players where it affected them negatively. Probably, right? I'm not saying anybody should change. I'm not going to change. I am who I am, and that's, man, I sound like Ben Simmons. It is what it is, you know? But we're not going to change. Like, I know we're not going to change. I just want you to answer the question of whether or not it actually works.
I think it absolutely works. But I think it has positive and negative impacts, and we need to be aware of the negative impacts. I think there's just this brick wall mentality in this town of this is the way we are as a fan base. We're going to expect a lot from players to a fault, and we're not going to acknowledge those faults as much as we should. And that's everybody. That's people on the radio, like what we do.
Yeah,
that's fans in the stands. That's everybody. There is this, well, that's just how it is in Philly. I do think that we need to have instances as we progress as a city, that we draw back on that.
Like applauding Nick Castellanos for hitting a game-winning double the next day.
Right.
And I couldn't get that yesterday. Like, to me, that was amazing to me that Phillies fans, not the radio hosts, the evil media, were trying to give Nick Castellanos the credit, and the Phillies fans were not doing it, which to me, I find that amazing. But the second I'm critical of Jalen Hurts, it's I got to lock the doors of the studio here to make sure that the angry mob doesn't come in.
Right. The toughest thing is approval of players who play well in this city, even if it's just a game. It should never come begrudgingly. It should never be this guy has stunk for 2 months, so he plays well. It doesn't matter. Like, that's the biggest issue.
Right.
Guys will have good performances, and because we don't like them, you won't cheer for it.
Right.
I'll cheer for anybody who plays well at any given time.
Absolutely. That's how it should be.
And then if they suck tomorrow, we're going to go back to it.
And as we should be. That's what we are. It's a society where it's what have you done for me lately?
Right.
And, let's do that, I guess, if anything. If anything, we should be more celebratory when things are good and be critical when things are bad and not make excuses or not refuse to give somebody credit because they haven't performed the way that you wanted them to. Be Gone, what do we have on the text line about that conversation? You can call in, text in 610-632-0975.
Yeah, we got Edwin from Philly checking in. He says, Philly's a tough place to play if you make it tough. Obviously, I want talented players, but if you don't do anything with that talent, you'll get turned on. Look no further than that former athlete, the Crumb Bum, number 25.
I am who I am. It is what it is.
He had all the tools, but never put in the work. I can live with losing. I can't live with not giving effort.
Now, and thank you for the text, Edwin, I do believe Ben Simmons put in work. I think he just...
Yeah, those off-season workout videos.
Yeah, they're there every single year. I just don't think he is built for moments, and I don't think it's just a Philadelphia thing. He was not built for it in Brooklyn. You're clearly seeing he wasn't built for it at LSU. He's probably not going to be built for it the next team he goes to, right?
Right.
That might just be who he is, and so that's why people did sour on him. And I think anybody had every right to sour on him. But what? Just because you sprint down the first baseline, but you hit 150, does that make you a fan favorite?
No, there needs to be a balance of performance and the personality.
Like, I've done shows where Furkan Korkmaz has gotten more love than Joel Embiid. Because Furkan Korkmaz, you don't expect anything really out of, but when he has a day where he goes off for 17 points, the lines are lit for Furkan Korkmaz, but the day Joel Embiid goes off for 70, I have to fight people that are saying, well, wake me up when he does in the playoffs. Like, it's amazing how and we should hold our stars to higher standards. We absolutely should. But it sometimes comes off where we are like overly critical of the stars and we are so forgiving of the lesser player.
Well, look at Garrett Stubbs, dude.
Right.
Like, he's not showing up when you need him to show up right now. He's going out there every couple of games and playing all right.
But people would shed tears the day he's no longer here.
Yeah, if they make a move to improve the team at the catcher position, people are going to legit cry over a guy because he plays songs. Don't get me wrong, I might be one of those guys, right? Because I do like that.
You're a vibes
But I want the team to be better in the long run. So that's my view on it. Like, there's just a weird dichotomy of, yeah, I like this guy. It's the pre-made up mind thing that we keep going back to, where if you already made your mind up, you're not changing on it, no matter how good or how bad you are.
That's pretty much true.
And your opinions on things, including sports, should be able to be changed every day.
They should be
changed as far as base tenets of how you live your life, but on things like sports, where you can be and not have it really change who you are as a person, you can accept that. You should be evaluating every day as a new one to figure out who these players are.
Yeah, absolutely. All right. Connor, you have the quotes.
You're going to love this.
So Rich Paul spoke on the behalf of LeBron James. We're going to try to digest this and see if it means that the window is still open for LeBron James. What do we got? Read me the quotes, Connor.
So Rich Paul talked to ESPN about the whole LeBron James, Bronny wanting to play together thing.
So hashtag Bronny for Bron. Trade up for the number one pick. Draft Bronny so that you get LeBron.
Seems like Bronny for Bron is probably dead. Here's the quote. LeBron is off this idea of having to play with Bronny. If he does, he does. But if he doesn't, he doesn't. There's no deal made that is guaranteed that if the Lakers draft Bronny at 55, LeBron will re-sign. If that was the case, I would force them to take him at 17, which is a great agent move.
It is, yeah.
There. But he goes on to say, we don't need leverage. The Lakers can draft Bronny, and LeBron doesn't re-sign. LeBron is also not going to Phoenix for a minimum deal. We can squash that now.
Yeah, I don't know. Was anyone actually saying that he would go to Phoenix for the vet minimum?
Yeah,
I know that Phoenix has like no cap space left.
Yeah, because you got Beal, Durant, Booker. You wouldn't have a way to give him like a significant amount. To
right, there's no way. I don't know if Phoenix was a possibility from the beginning. I really don't.
But people believe because of the workout schedule of Bronny that, okay, he wants to work out for the Suns. LeBron could go there. He could take nothing to play for his son. Basically, he's saying LeBron's going to do business as usual.
So does that leave the window still open? I guess.
Yeah.
Because when he says, when Rich Paul straight up says, even if the Lakers draft Bronny, that doesn't mean he's staying. Now, that could just be very agent speak, and it's all right, give LeBron more money, L.A., if you want him to stay, because right now he's got the player option. He could opt out, and you guys could rework a deal, or you could extend his contract. He could opt in, and you extend it by 2 more years, and all of a sudden it's a 3-year deal. But to me, that tells me that there's still a chance.
Absolutely there is. And there should still be. I mean, he's available. The Sixers should be doing everything in their power to approach.
I think it would be dumb of LeBron James, a man who I respect dearly. I think it would be dumb of LeBron James to not even consider the Sixers, which last time he didn't even consider the Sixers.
Yes.
It would be dumb of LeBron James to not consider the Sixers because I could make the case that this is legitimate his best chance to win something if he comes here. I would think he has a better shot here than he does in L.A.
But something we need to come to terms with, and this is not just a LeBron thing. This is this offseason thing. As we get deeper into this NBA offseason, there are going to be a lot of players that use Philadelphia for leverage because of the cap space situation. This is going to be the top team that people look at and say, hey, I could say I would love to go to Philly because they can pay me.
Well, like OG Anunoby.
Exactly.
He's already upset with the offer he got from New York. And there's already been tags between the Sixers and OG from the past. It's a good point, Connor.
Yeah.
But this tells me that LeBron James is still open. Coming up next, we discuss more of that, but also get more of your texts on the topics at hand, 610-632-0975. And how quick can Johan Rojas come back? I'm going to tell you about his start in AAA. Not really going so well. It's Kincade Salciunas. Connor and for John, 97.5 The Fanatic.
Fanatic Sports Update.
Kincade Salciunas on this beautiful Wendy's Thursday morning. The Wendy's breakfast was just dropped off, thanks to our friend Mike Vito, who picked it up, drove it over. Connor, I think I handled this the best way possible.
What'd you do?
Look at the bite I left for myself.
Oh, my goodness. Is that one bite for you? That's
no,
a big,
I'm going to try to make this a 2-biter. It's normally a 1-biter.
That's a hand size left.
But I'm currently looking at the rest of my breakfast burrito that has the egg, the cheese, and 2 pieces of sausage wrapped in the tortilla. Our YouTube audience can see. I left the most perfect 2 bites that I can be excited for until the next commercial break.
It's an amazing
I'm not eating
day.
it on air. I'm going to wait till the break. It looks absolutely perfect. Speaking of Wendy's, how about we give away another $50 Wendy's gift card right now on the contest line? B-Gun, give me a number.
7.
Call number 7 to the contest line, 215-263-0975. We'll win our second of 4 $50 Wendy's gift cards. The best nugs are now even better. Wendy's new saucy nugs. Take the nugs you love and sauce them up in bold flavors, including buffalo, honey barbecue, garlic parm, and spicy ghost pepper. Try them all today for a whole new way to nug. It's got to be Wendy's. Open till midnight or later at participating U.S. Wendy's. Hours may vary by location. Call number 7, 215-263-0975. You can also use that $50 gift card on the breakfast burrito.
I think you should use it all on the breakfast burrito.
I wouldn't blame you for doing that. All right, so we'll get back to the text line coming up in a little bit. And, I want to get more into this LeBron James thing as well, because the comments made by Rich Paul tell you that it's not a lock that he re-signs with the Lakers. It's not going to happen, him getting a vet minimum deal, which I didn't expect at all, with the Phoenix Suns. And I still believe it would be dumb of LeBron James to not even consider Philadelphia.
Yeah, why wouldn't he? This team is capable of winning. And the people who looked at it before the last time that he was available and said, he may come here. Well, here's what's different. We talked so much about the makeup of Joel Embiid and how he was treated by this organization alongside Ben Simmons in the past.
Yep.
I don't think they were brought up the right way as players.
I don't think so either.
And that's been reported in multiple places, the way that they had a lot of free reign compared to what they probably should have as younger players. Now you're looking at MVP caliber, potentially still the most talented basketball player on the planet right now, Joel Embiid. Healthy or not, whatever, that's a different conversation. He's won an MVP. He's cemented himself as someone who's in that tier. You have Tyrese Maxey, who won Most Improved Player, who was an all-star last year, who is beloved around the league by players, fans, everything.
Who is a Clutch Sports
that's another part of it.
Client. Thank you.
There you go.
Client.
This team, while it may not be in the best spot as far as overall roster talent, has that top tier, star power that would probably make LeBron feel more comfortable here in the chance to win.
Yeah, I mean, look, it would make zero sense for him to not even consider it. And it's interesting you bring up the way Joel Embiid and Ben Simmons were allowed to do whatever they wanted back in the day when they were trying to acquire LeBron James. And maybe LeBron said, this is not a serious enough organization for me. The other day when the Celtics won the NBA Finals, I did a topic with John and Tom. The last 7 years, has it been more Sixers failure or Celtics success? And I said Sixers failure. Even though the Celtics, I'm not taking anything away from what Boston has been able to accomplish. They were the best team in the NBA this year. Far and away the best team in the NBA from start to finish. But the Sixers, the fact that they have not gone out of the second round during this entire time, to me, is more Sixers failure than Celtics success.
Yeah, it's more impressive that the Sixers have failed to get out of the second round than anything to be positive.
And it goes back to something like that. I think they mistreated how they could have raised Simmons and Embiid in the NBA.
It's just such a weird. It's not even a case study. I was going to call it a case study. The reason you do a case study is to figure out something that could happen in the future. You figure out data. You learn from the experiences. I don't even think you can learn from what's happened to the Sixers because it's not all their fault. It's not all just the organization missed picks. It's that the organization happened to run into bad luck on top of also making some bad decisions, leading to a spot where now you're between a rock and a hard place. And I can't put all of it on even the players you picked.
No.
That's what's so tough. But LeBron James is as curse-proof as it gets, and there's no reason.
Don't say that. Philadelphia might just be cursed in general.
It could be the city, but I look at it, and I'm in total agreement with you. There's no reason why he should not consider playing for the Sabres.
Right, absolutely. All right, we'll get to text in a second, but I just want to give you an update on Johan Rojas' watch. So let me ask you first. Forget what he's doing in the minor leagues. When would you expect him, and you don't have to give me a date, when would you expect him to come back up? My thought was whoever they acquire, Pache's probably gone, Dahl's going to be gone. Like, David Dahl won't be gone when Cody Clemens comes up. So there's one of your, we don't want to lose this guy because of his lack of options. That one guy's going to be gone. So that means the only guy with that same scenario left is Christian Pache. If they're making trades for outfielders, I don't think Pache's still in this team. He might be sent down, or he does stay and Johan Rojas gets traded. We may never see Johan Rojas back with the big league club. We don't know.
Yeah, I don't think they're ready to move on from him yet. Like, I do not think he'll be traded because they believed in him enough to give him the starting center field position. He's still...
Until they acquire a better player.
Well, for this year. But I think he's a guy that they see with major upside defensively, and that's something you can't just... They don't... Johan Rojas is... This might sound crazy to people who see the way he hits. They don't grow on trees. You don't just find outfielders of that caliber in the field everywhere. So where I'd expect them to get called back up, probably close to post-trade deadline. You have over a month's worth of time in the minors at that point. He'd have proven whether or not he could actually figure out this new swing and a swing at all and learn a little bit on the base paths. And then at that point, if he's not producing, we have a much bigger problem.
Well, that's the other question. What if he doesn't do well in the minors? So right now, he went 0 for 4 yesterday with the strikeout. He went 1 for 5 his first game with an RBI. So far, he's 1 for 9. He's batting 111. I know it's only been 2-game sample size. But if he continues to struggle offensively in the minor leagues, like worse than he did in the major leagues, does he stay down or do you bring him up because...
You bring him up to be a defensive replacement and a pinch runner. You do.
Okay.
Because this team has enough power and enough ability in their starting lineup, and when you get close enough to the postseason, you won't need him to play. Like, you won't. He is a emergency option, but he's a guy with a bona fide skill set. Remember how that series against the Atlanta Braves ended last year?
Right.
He made a hell of a play.
Incredible play.
In the biggest spot in that series. So he can be beneficial, but he may not take it at bat. Like, I don't know. You could still find a roster spot for him at some point this year. But if he doesn't hit, we have serious conversations about, is he with this organization long term?
Right. I mean, it's we'll see how that plays out. Now, before we get to the text, I want to read one of our comments on our YouTube page. Stanley checks in. Hey, Chunas, you're forgetting Rojas missed a few balls. A ball ticked off his glove. A ball went over his head. Marsh missed one ball, and you're busting him. Plus, Marsh has more home runs than Rojas. So here's the deal. I think Marsh is a better outfit, or sorry, Rojas is a better outfielder than Brandon Marsh. I know I'm new to this time slot. This is show 69 of Kincade and Salciunas. If you ever listen to me on the midday show, I'm not the biggest Brandon Marsh fan. You know that, Connor. Like, right. I think he's a nice baseball player. I think he's a platoon guy. I think the Phillies are telling you exactly what he is. I think he's a nice baseball player who is an above-average outfielder, not as high as Johan Rojas, who has a much better swing, gets right-handed pitching than he does left-handed pitching. I don't know if he's an everyday player. I think he's a nice piece to have on a team. He also is very fast. Not as fast as Rojas, but very fast. Like, he has a lot of above-average qualities to his game. I think he strikes out way too much for a guy that doesn't hit 50 home runs like Kyle Schwarber, and I don't think he's that sure of a glove as Johan Rojas. So I'm not trying to mess with you, Brandon Marsh. I'm not trying to be too critical of Brandon Marsh. I think he is who he is. I don't think Brandon Marsh is ever going to take this huge leap forward where we go, wow, totally worth trading one of your top 5 prospects for. I think it was a trade of necessity. At the time, you needed him.
Right.
Like, you didn't need Logan O'Hoppe. I don't know if you would ever need Logan O'Hoppe. So it may go down as a good trade. People are going to be caught up on O'Hoppe having a decent career as a catcher with the Angels. But I don't think Brandon Marsh is this incredible baseball player. So I don't want Stanley thinking that I'm too critical of a guy that I don't even think is, I don't know. He's a platoon guy. He's a rotational outfielder.
He has flashes of above average play.
He does.
He does. Like, he'll play for a month. He will be in conversations with like Aaron Judge on exit velocity.
We saw it this season.
Like
the first month of the season, he's one of the better players in Major League Baseball.
Right. So he has ability. That's why I think he's better than a platoon player at his best. But better than a platoon player is probably just your regular run-of-the-mill starting corner outfielder. That's what I think Brandon Marsh is. So can you improve upon that? Absolutely.
Yeah, like I think there are improvements to Brandon Marsh.
Are we ripping on him? No.
I just think he is who he is. Like I I don't think it's his fault that he didn't make that play yesterday. I think he's just not that great of a center fielder.
For the record, he made the right play. Anyone who thinks he should pull off that ball in that spot
he just didn't get to it.
Right. Like, he made the smart outfielder play. He just wasn't fast enough. That's the reason we're bringing it up.
All right, what do we have on the text line there, B-Gun?
Yeah, I got one from each of the main topics today. Which one do you want first, the Phils or the city of Philly?
Go with Phillies first. Why not?
All right, so let me get to it. All right, Connor, the man I'm glad to see. Why are you so nonchalant when it comes to this Phillies team? We want to pray down Broad Street, and what has this group given us? Look, for me, it's about championships. I don't care about prospects. Make a move that's going to improve the outfield because Marsh and Rojas are not getting it done. Antoine from Philly.
I'll let you respond, but the what has this team given us is ridiculous.
Exactly. You are asking so dark, and I'm not saying for a championship. And I understand how Antoine feels, and I don't think he's alone with this fan base. I want a championship as much as anybody else who roots for the Philadelphia Phillies. Trust me. And I want them to improve the outfield. The thing you've got to look at, that gets into the mentality. We talked about this. The perfect example is John with James Harden. He could be right that he's that guy forever, and like nothing ever changes. But you can't go into this season and say, okay, well, they haven't gotten there with these guys. They're never going to get there with these. Look at, and I know the Celtics made changes, right? But that Jason Tatum, Jaylen Brown group, they got clowned for like 4 or 5 years saying, oh, they're this good.
They're never going to win.
They're not going to get over the hump. Same thing happened with Denver. It's a different sport, but in sports, you have to give teams time. And this team is really, really good. So why am I so nonchalant? Because for, I don't know, 90% of the season so far, they've been the best team in baseball. 100% of the season.
They were in the World Series 2 years ago in the NLCS last year.
Yes.
Like, that's nothing. Like, that's not something to sneeze at.
And they're a postseason juggernaut. It's not like they get in the postseason after good regular seasons and choke like that team down in Atlanta. This team is proven to win in the postseason. Just because they haven't won the World Series doesn't mean, they're not good enough to win the World Series. They got cold at a bad time. They played the Astros, who were a dynasty, basically. They're a very good team, and I'm seeing that. Maybe not everybody is.
Maybe not everybody is. All right, well, hold on to the text message about the Philadelphia conversation that we have. We'll get to more texts coming up next. You can call in, text in 610-632-0975. The Philadelphia conversation, Keith Pompey talking about how it is a hard place to play in, but obviously if you hustle, if you try hard, if you play hard, you're going to be loved in this city. But has it worked? It hasn't necessarily worked, but that doesn't mean it's on us, right? It could also be organizational failures, which we have seen. But how much does it help or hurt our mentality as a Philadelphia sports fan? Would love to hear from you. 610-632-0975. It's Kincade Salciunas. Connor in for John today, right here, 97.5 The Fanatic.
Summer is here. Time to daydream.
John today. That means Brendan Gunn is sitting in John's Connor's seat today, So that means today's headlines with Brendan Gunn coming your way at 8:05. Andrew DiCecco will be joining us at 8:10 as he does each and every Thursday. Something I found interesting on NBC Sports Philadelphia that we'll get into with Andrew DiCecco today, and then you and I will discuss more. So NBC Sports Philadelphia is doing their top 25 most important Eagles, and they've only gone through 2 so far. Number 25 was Brandon Graham, probably more so for the respect factor to throw him in there. And plus, veteran leadership's important.
Strip sack in the Super Bowl.
No, not all time.
Oh.
No, this year.
Oh, okay. That's
Brandon Graham would be probably top 10, honestly.
I was going to say,
it's going into this season.
Yeah.
The Kobe Dean came in at 24. And we're not going to get into it right now, but just think about it. A, should he be higher than 24, or B, should even be in the top 25? Just think about it. We don't have to get into it just yet. I want to make your brain stir a little bit, but we'll talk about that with Andrew DiCecco coming up at 8:10, because if you remember last week, we went through Dave Zangaro's players that raised their stock in OTAs and minicamp. Not one mention to Kobe Dean. Other linebackers were mentioned. Not one mention to Kobe Dean, who was basically given the starting middle linebacker job last year. Just like Reed Blankenship was just given the starting safety job last year.
Yeah. I could make the argument, though, on both sides of that. So let my brain stir. We'll get to it.
Yeah, let it stir. But what I want to do is I want to hit the text line hard this segment. You can text in or call in 610-632-0975. When it comes to the Phillies, what's your sense of urgency when it comes to the center field position? You're either going to trade for somebody or you think that they should just keep the guys that they have. And if they do trade for somebody, how quick do you want that trade to happen, number one? And how much are you willing to spend? This is a conversation that's probably only going to get more and more hot as the days go on, because July 31st is the MLB trade deadline, so we're only going to get closer to the trade deadline. We're also going to probably watch center field much more closely than we were. I don't think anybody was really watching Johan Rojas defensively this year. I think we were all watching him offensively this year. And as everybody's pointed out, Rojas's advanced metrics haven't been good in center field this year. Like, it's not what we expected him to be. But we all watched offensively because that was the talking point, whether or not he should have made the team. Brandon Marsh, the talking point isn't his bat. The talking point is him defensively now that Rojas is out. And through 3 games, we've seen not the best center field play between him and Christian Pache.
So here's basically where you go. You went from Johan Rojas, who is supposed to be. We're just going to live in the supposed-to-be world.
Correct.
Because that's all the Phillies could do going into this year. Supposed to be an elite-level defender and a very sub-average bat. You're supposed to find the middle ground in that. And where you're going now is Brandon Marsh, who is an average defender and an average hitter.
Yes.
Right, above-average defender, I would say. But
yeah,
still,
I'll go above-average defender.
So, yeah, you gave up some in one area. You gained
Improved
some in another, and you kind of end up in a similar spot, which is why the outfield situation still needs to be addressed at the trade deadline. That's it. But I wouldn't overly harp on what Brandon Marsh doesn't do well, because he does stuff well that Johan Rojas could never hope to at the major league.
Correct. But bottom line is there's a way to improve probably both, and that would be with the trade. Now the question is, how much are you willing to spend? We'd love to get your reaction on that. Also, Philadelphia, whether or not it's a tough place to play, whether or not it works, who we are as a fan base. What do we have on the text line, B-Gun?
Yeah, another guy disagreeing with Connor. We got Jay from Westchester checking in saying, Connor, I love you, but you're wrong. The Phillies have a 2 to 3 year window. You finally have created a strong farm system. You have good big-name pitching guys down there and others at valuable positions. I'm not saying wager the entire farm system, but you have to go all in this year. The Phillies basically told us during the spring that they are the best team in baseball. Therefore, you are in win-now mode. They need an outfielder and a 4th outfielder and someone to replace Sir Anthony or Soto.
I love that everyone starts the text of ripping me by saying they love it. Thank you very much. You can disagree with me. I'm an idiot sometimes, too. And I could be wrong on this. But I look at it and I try and win a championship if I'm a president of baseball operations. My goal is to do it in the most simple way possible, right? If you are good enough to win, I'm not saying don't add anybody, but do what you need to do to get there. Don't try and kill a cockroach with a nuclear bomb. Well, I guess you can't do that.
Well, didn't they make that bet last year when they got Rodolfo Castro and Michael Lorenzen? Like, they kind of played it that
they
way
did
last
kind of do
year.
that last
Right,
year.
they did. And
it didn't work.
Were they good enough to be playing in the World Series?
Yes, they were good
Yeah.
enough.
Were they good enough to be better than the Texas Rangers, who have had a major fall off, and a lot of people believe that the Phillies were a better
Yeah,
team?
they were, but to me that doesn't. I can't just stand by that. Like
You lost to the Diamondbacks, who went out and got Tommy Pham, right? And he
Right.
was a contributor in the NLCS.
Right, and you didn't lose to the Diamondbacks because Dave Dombrowski didn't trade for somebody. You
right,
lost to
but
the
you could have made a trade that could have bettered your team.
And every
'cause
other team that
bats
goes
will
out could have.
Bats will go cold. Arms will go weak. There will be guys that can't pitch strikes. The more options, the more the merrier, right? Like to me, that's what I live by. I could have let's say the NBA trade deadline was after 41 games. My team could be 41-0. I would still want to acquire somebody.
I got you, but the team that wins the trade deadline doesn't win the World Series. Like those teams can be the same thing, but it's not a guarantee. You can make a huge move and not be good enough.
But it's
The
not a
same stuff
guarantee
can
you
happen.
win if you don't trade your prospects either.
I know, which is why I'm saying we have to find a really good balance. It's not just move everybody. It's not just they have a championship contention window so nothing else matters. You know what happens with that? Here's the other thing that scares me that's in the back of my mind that you need to think about regardless of how good this team is. When that team won in 2008, they went back in 2009. And then 10, 11, 12 was a steady decline into a decade-long playoff drought. I don't want it to freaking happen because you got Bryce Harper here for a decade. You got Trey
and that's
Turner
why
here
it
for a
won't.
decade.
Yeah, but they were
That's
making
why it won't.
They were making trades back then when everybody else could see their window was closed, but they couldn't see it. The window's
Right.
still open right now.
The window is still open, and with Bryce Harper and Trey Turner, the window will remain open. Like it's not like if they make trades this year and they give up Andrew Painter or they give up Mick Abel or they give up Justin Crawford.
Right.
I'm not even saying give up the whole farm system. I'm giving up one or two guys. And if one of those two guys, I will tell you right now, odds are they probably won't pan out to be anything because that's usually how prospects work. You also have to believe that your prospects pan out to be something. It's easy to say, oh, I don't want to trade away prospects because I need those prospects to replenish the talent that I have at the major league level. Those prospects might suck.
Yes,
That's why they're prospects.
You're right, but what do we always ask for in the city? What have we had in our lifetime? We've had two championships.
I want to win.
They've all been sold. We don't just want to win. We want to win consistently.
Yeah, dynasties
We
are
don't just want
nice.
one.
But you got to win first
It's
before
also
you can
funny.
become one.
I know you do.
Tying this in with the other conversation, this city loves the imagination of prospects, right? We love prospects so much, and then when we have actual guys that contribute on the major league level, they drive us nuts, and we hate them. But we love the prospects more than we like
we
like
love
a struggling
diamonds in the
star.
rough. We love homegrown talent. And to me, I don't care where you came from as long as you're performing on the field. We'd love to get more reaction on this at 610-632-0975. You can text in, you can call in. Coming up next, Andrew DiCecco will join us around 8:10. Before that, we have today's headlines with Brendan Gunn, who is sitting in Connor's seat. We do a quick little show reset and everything ahead on Kincade Salciunas. Connor in for John right here, 97.5 The Fanatic.
Fanatic Sports Update.
1 on Kincade and Salciunas on this Wendy's Thursday morning. We just saw Casey Boy crush it. He stole one of our Wendy's.
He did. That's
All right.
okay. We're sharing the burrito.
You guys have stole their food.
Oh, all the time.
A million times. I don't. I think it's disrespectful.
I want every person in the world to try this Wendy's.
This Wendy's breakfast. No, you know what? I kind of want to gatekeep it for us.
No,
except for the people that we tell to go buy it.
We could end all conflict. We could end world hunger. If everyone just tried the Wendy's breakfast burrito, this world would be a much better place.
I think you're right, actually. I think you're spot on, unless you're vegan or vegetarian because there's meat in it.
Okay, well, ask them. They might. The nice people at Wendy's might find a way.
They don't eat eggs either, do they?
I don't know what vegans do.
Yeah, so they eat cheese on the. Honestly, it might not end everything because vegans and vegetarians have their.
Go ask Kaylee. Vegans put turkey on their nachos, apparently, according to her, even though that's not a thing.
I've had turkey on the nachos before. It's not
Have
bad.
you?
Ground turkey? Yeah, because Chrissy doesn't eat red meat.
Okay.
So when we make nachos at home, it's ground turkey. It's fine.
I don't even know what
really
nachos
not
are.
that much.
I only eat the Wendy's breakfast burrito.
That's it. That's all we eat. At some point this hour, we'll give away our third $50 Wendy's gift card, so make sure you're listening closely. We'll tell you when to call the contest line. Not yet, but at some point this hour, we'll give away Wendy's gift card number 3. We have today's headlines with Brendan Gunn coming up at 8:05. Andrew DiCecco is going to be joining us coming up at 8:10. Connor, so there were a few things that you missed, like non-Philadelphia sports related, that we got into. And one thing that we didn't get into that I do want to bring up, did you see what happened between the Rockies and Dodgers 2 nights ago?
No.
All right, so I forgot to bring this up yesterday. And John's Mr. Robot, make sure the game is called the correct way.
Yeah, I didn't realize who was playing, but yes.
So, Brendan, did you see the Teoscar Hernandez home run?
No.
All right, so Teoscar Hernandez, who was a guy that I was intrigued by. He's one of these 25 home run, but bats 196 guys, right? Not as impactful as Kyle Schwarber's home runs, but a guy that you wouldn't mind having on your team as a fourth outfielder. That's clearly what the Dodgers are doing with him. He checks his swing, clearly goes. First base umpire says no swing. Next pitch, he hits a go-ahead 2-run home run in the top of the 9th inning against the Rockies, who stink, but the Rockies want to do whatever they can to win. Jake Cave is playing right field for the Rockies. He goes absolutely ballistic. After the inning's over, he rushes after the first base umpire. It's amazing, right? The Bud Black, the manager of the Rockies, gets ejected. How are check swings not reviewable?
No clue. It should be like one of the main things that you can review.
Like, to me, if you were to ask me top 5 things that should be reviewable in baseball, that should be one of the top 5 things because you have the camera angles.
Right. Fair or foul, plays on the bases.
Right. Safe or out. Right.
Home run or not, check swing.
Check swing. Like, right. Like, there are things that I want to look up what is reviewable and what's not, because there's probably some things that are reviewable that you go, all right, yeah, that should be reviewable, but I would imagine check swing is more important than that. The fact that it's not reviewable is astonishing to me.
Yeah, I don't know. It's going to have to be, because Major League Baseball, this automatic strike zone thing, this robot umps deal, there's too much traction now that they can get to this point that they have to start giving some things up. You have to start reviewing some more things, or it's going to become fully automated. There are just too many bad umpires out there around baseball right now that you can't do this without more of a review process.
Right. So here's the wording, by the way. Plays that are non-reviewable are plays that include subjective calls, which, come on, such as check swings, infield fly rule, which that's another easy one. You should be able to.
No. That one I agree with. Because of defensive alignment, getting to every ball is different.
Okay. Balls and strikes, obviously. And then other calls that are considered non-reviewable are trap plays in the infield, because you can't see the ball, actually. Foul tips and foul tips should be reviewable. The camera angles that zoom in, like, how many times have you seen the replay of bat to ball on a home run? How can you not review whether or not it's a foul tip? Tennis can review the ball touching a white line or not.
Why is tennis so advanced?
Right, exactly. But Major League Baseball, it's the weirdest thing to me.
Unbelievable.
I mean, this is a conversation that's going to continue because if you saw the report, it looks like next year Major League Baseball might have balls and strikes reviewable, where they tap the helmet and they decide whether or not it should be reviewed. It's not going to be automatic balls and strikes via the computer system. But balls and strikes next year might be reviewable in Major League Baseball. Check swings should be too.
Absolutely.
Unbelievable. All right. It's time now for today's headlines with Brendan Gunn.
Today's headlines with Connor Thomas.
What do we got, Brendan?
All right, so obviously the Phils lost yesterday. It was kind of a boring game at the plate for most of us. And then Ranger Suarez was on the mound. He went 6 innings. He allowed 1 earned run, 6 hits and striking out 4. But it was a much bigger day for him because he had some people in the crowd that have never been here to see a game. His 2 children and his wife have never seen him play in the States, and I don't know if they've seen him play professionally at all for that matter. But he talked through his translator after the game, and Rob Thompson talked about it as well. It is frozen. So
that's natural. It's okay. No,
I was excited that they got here that same day. Since they were born, they had never spent a day with me, a Father's Day with me, so I was really excited about it.
I'm very happy for them that they're here, and first time that they've been here to see him pitch, and I'm really happy for him because I know he's happy.
I mean, that's beautiful. It's also crazy. It's crazy to think about things that we don't necessarily have to deal with.
Right.
Like visa, like we don't have to deal with visa issues.
Yeah.
Right? Like there's a lot of complaints about this country that I think are just completely unwarranted from both sides of the political parties. That's why I like to stay in the middle because I think you're all lunatics, myself included. But like the fact that his family has not been able to watch him pitch professionally yet until yesterday. And oh, by the way, he's the front runner for Cy Young. Like it's a very cool story for Ranger Suarez.
It is, and you hear about it far too often. Like I wish every player's family could be at every game. It's just not realistic, though. And when you get those moments,
there was a big
cool
one last year. I forget who, but it was
Jose Alvarado, I believe.
No, but there's a big one last year, like a star player last year who his father came for the first game or something like that.
Trying to remember. On the Phillies, or just in...
Didn't Embiid's parents first come last year or something, or 2 years ago?
A couple years ago, yeah.
His like that, another one, like a guy who's literally MVP.
Well, man, listen, these people work. They're in different countries. They're a long way around the world.
That's
so
true.
Even outside of the visa issues, money doesn't solve everything. You can't just kick your feet up and say, I'm done with my job forever.
Embiid's money kind of
even that. It's just like his parents probably still want to work, and they got stuff
absolutely.
going on.
Absolutely.
It's cool to have those moments.
What's next, B-Gun?
All right, Paul George, a guy that all eyes are on right now in Philadelphia in free agency. He spoke about a trade in the beginning of the season that involved the Sixers and his team, the Clippers, giving up some guys that maybe the Sixers shouldn't give up this offseason if you want to continue with the continuity that Embiid talked about.
And then we traded to get James, and it's not James' fault of why I think we struggled, but I think the lost part of that was that we lost Rocco, we lost Nico. Those was our glue guys. Like, that was our defenders. So again, it had nothing to do with grabbing James. It was more so losing those guys. KJ Martin as well.
I mean, it's fascinating, right? The Denver Nuggets won an NBA title last year because of continuity. The Celtics don't necessarily have that continuity. Kristaps Porzingis and Drew Holiday were both new players to the team this year, but they had Tatum and Brown for a while, and obviously Al Horford's been there forever, and a guy like Peyton Pritchard's been there for a couple of years now. But you do need a bet. Like, we're starting to see that the super team, the all-in super team, right? Like the Miami Heat back in the day did have bench players that actually performed. Suns stink. They have Kevin Durant, Bradley Beal, Devin Booker. They stink because Connor Thomas is their sixth man.
Well,
with all due
that's
respect.
not true because they'd be good if that was the case.
No, you guys would be horrible like they are now. You do need to have a semblance of a bench. So what the Clippers needed to do was after making those moves, they had to probably try to make other moves to solidify their bench. And oh, by the way, they did it during the season. The season had already started.
By the time they got to the point where they were ready to make moves, like deadline zone to fill out the rest of the roster, people kind of already knew they were not competing.
Right. So it's interesting to see what the formula should be for the NBA. Continuity, I believe, is important, but then it goes back to the conversation about the Sixers. There is no continuity.
No.
There's no time for continuity.
Yeah, you don't have that luxury
unless
anymore.
you bring back Batum. I saw a report yesterday that they want Batum, Lowry, and Oubre back.
Sure,
that's
great.
fine.
That's 3 guys on top of 4, so you still have a lot of roster to fill out there.
Right, and you still have to get that max player. All right, Begun, hold on to your last one. We'll get back to it at some point, but it is 8:10, and every single Thursday at 8:10, We are joined by a great football mind from Inside the Birds, and of course also here at 97.5 The Fanatic. Andrew DiCecco joins us on the Comcast Business Hotline. Every day in business is a big day. Let Comcast Business help you move forward with what's next. Andrew, what's up, man? Good morning.
Hey, good morning. What's going on? And what a treat. I get to talk to my guy CT, whom I haven't spoken to in quite a while.
Oh, wow. He gets initials. I just get Andrew.
Yeah, this is my favorite Andrew to talk to.
He gets CT. That's amazing. All right. I hope I can get to that level at some point.
What's going on, guys?
It's another beautiful day. Andrew, so now it's kind of getting to that quiet time. Minicamp is over, so there's not as much reacting to what's been going on the field. So we kind of got to get back to on-paper conversation and speculation and things moving forward. But one thing I want to bring to your attention that Connor and I are going to discuss more as the show goes on. NBC Sports Philadelphia is doing a top 25 most important Eagles list for this year. So Brandon Graham came in at 25 for this year. Coming in at number 24 is Nakobe Dean. I'll ask you, Andrew, should he be higher or should he be even off the list? Because I don't know what his role is with this team this year.
No, I would actually put him even a little bit higher, Andrew. And the reason why I say that is Nakobe is really, he's here to be a starting player. He's here to front that unit alongside Devin White's by all accounts. And beyond Nakobe, there's a lot of question marks, to be frank with you. There's obviously Zach Vaughn, who's largely an unknown entity, being someone who hasn't played the inside linebacker position for quite a while, for an extensive period of time. And then you have younger players like Jeremiah Trotter Jr. and Ben Van Sumeren, and Oren Burks is there as well as a veteran. But there's not a lot there if Nakobe Dean doesn't pan out. And when you look at the linebacker position, which is heavily scrutinized, and rightfully so in Philadelphia, I mean, a lot of the plans hinge on Nakobe Dean being the player that the Eagles envisioned when they drafted him a couple years ago.
Looking at this roster right now, we know Howie Roseman never sleeps when it comes to potentially improving. So if Howie Roseman and Andrew DiCecco switch places, what's one roster move that you would want to see made before the start of the season and why?
Good question. And as I was sort of parsing the roster, Connor, I was looking at some of the positions that are a little bit thin. And to me, you can certainly make a case for wide receiver. You can even make a case for linebacker, which we just sort of discussed. But for me, I'm looking at safety. And when you look at, they have two starters in C.J. Gardner-Johnson and Reed Blankenship. Yes, they are, if they're healthy, which is the optimal term here, that's a pretty solid tandem. But they both have missed games over the past couple of seasons. And then beyond that, Sidney Brown is returning from an ACL injury. So by all accounts, he looks like he's ahead of schedule, but you also have to factor in the learning curve in learning a new defense and learning what Vic Fangio wants you to do it and how he wants you to do it, and how that may not translate to being able to be an impact player until, a little bit into the season. And beyond that, you have a couple of converted corners who are cross-training at the position, and Devontae Maddox, who has played that in the regular season before, and James Bradbury, whom we never really got a chance to see because he injured himself during individual drills on the first day of mandatory minicamp. So, I mean, if those two pan out, that's great, but Devontae Maddox's primary position is nickel, so I don't know how involved he's going to be at that position. And then after that, further down the depth chart, you have Mekhi Garner and Tristan McCollum, a couple of second-year players who each played in 3 games last season, but primarily on special teams. So looking at that depth, I think it behooves the Eagles to add a player that can provide some viable depth in the event that injuries arise or the inexperience surfaces.
Speaking of depth, one position that we've talked about the last couple of years where it lacked in depth was tight end, because once Dallas Goedert would go down, you would have a huge drop-off. One player that I don't know if anybody asked about, and you could correct me if I'm wrong, Andrew, during OTAs and minicamp, was CJ Uzomah, who I think's a nice. I thought that was a nice sneaky pickup for the Eagles. Was he around? Because I didn't hear his name mentioned once during OTAs or minicamp.
He was around, and he made some catches, as most of the tight ends did. They really worked that short to intermediate areas of the field. So I thought that he kind of showed what I expected. He's a veteran who's played a lot of snaps in this league, but he also has a couple of knee injuries to be mindful of. He's also a little bit older, and he's really a proficient blocker, but I'm not sure how much he has left in the tank. I think that's fair to question. We won't really know until you see an extensive body of work when the pads come on in training camp. But, yeah, Andrew, I'm right there with you. I think that tight end, there's a lot of depth concerns there because, look, last season when Dallas Goedert missed 3 games, everyone thought, myself included, that Jack Stoll and even Grant Calcaterra, more notably, would have a bigger role. That never happened. I think Calcaterra accumulated 25 snaps over that sample size and didn't have any catches or any targets. So I don't know that the Eagles have gotten anything near what they thought from their reserve tight ends. And you have Alberto Quavenam, you have Grant Calcaterra, who had a good spring. Alberto Quavenam's a holdover, who is a veteran, big-body guy, has some intriguing characteristics. But they're both enigmas. You haven't seen them be able to accomplish much on the field. So they're more of a projection. And then E.J. Jenkins is a backup player. He's a second-year player who flashed a little bit in OTAs. He's a former wide receiver. He's played wide receiver throughout his whole college career, and he moves well, 6'6", 260. But, again, if they pan out, that's a bonus. I don't think that they have anything that you can hang your hat on and say, yeah, they have a viable solution there.
We're speaking with Andrew DiCecco of Inside the Birds, and you just put out a great article about Jalix Hunt and how the Eagles could have gotten a steal there with that pick in the draft. But thinking about this draft class, it's been highly touted. I want your thoughts on the position they're in with a team like the Eagles with high expectations, but also the need to play these young players. Is this a spot where you would expect it to be conducive to young players stepping in and getting that opportunity and showing they're good enough? Or is this a tougher spot than where rookies normally are?
That's an interesting question. I think if you're the Eagles, you have to get the startup costs out of the way early. They talked about in the offseason their steadfast approach in getting young players onto the field and leaning on that and not relying on those veteran free agent signings that you saw last season when injuries surfaced. Look, there's going to be growing pains, and I always preach patience with young players and give them the opportunity to make their mistakes and grow and develop. That's what they're going to have to do, especially at the edge rusher position, which you alluded to, Connor, and that, look, Nolan Smith is a player that is the wild card in this equation. You haven't seen much last season. He played just 188 snaps, but I think there's something there. He looks a little bit bigger, and I think he deserves the benefit of the doubt that he's going to be able to put it together. And this is obviously a really big training camp for him. A lot's going to be expected. Jalix Hunt, who you led with, I'm not sure that he's going to factor too much into the 2024 equation. He's more of a project developmental type player with some intriguing characteristics. But I think that as a whole, I mean, Bryce Huff is another player who really fronts the unit, and he's replacing Hassan Reddick. He's going to have a lot to prove, too. So it is a challenging spot to be in if you're the Eagles, but you have to let these guys play and see what you have.
When it comes to the pass rush, is that, I know you mentioned depth at safety being a concern of yours. Is the pass rush one of your more concerning spots on the field going into the 2024 season, knowing that Bryce Huff is still a question mark, Josh Sweat probably a question mark? I don't know. I don't think there's all that much depth. I would love to get your thoughts on the pass rush going into this season.
Yeah, that's one of my biggest areas of concern for the Eagles because it's solely based on projection. Bryce Huff could very well exceed expectations. The Eagles still had a lot of money to bring him in, but he hasn't played more than half of the snap share in his career. He played 400 and some odd snaps last season versus the 800 that Hassan Reddick played. So, yeah, it is a projection for him, but the Eagles are banking on him being able to be on the ascent. Nolan Smith, who we mentioned, is someone that really hasn't factored much last season, which I thought was really telling considering how gassed Josh Sweat and Hassan Reddick looked. Look, he deserves the benefit of the doubt. But I think that when you look at it in its totality at that position, it is a little bit concerning because if they're not able to get home, well, then you create all different problems. You know, I know a lot of folks aren't high on the linebacker situation, and the secondary has a lot of young players. So if the Eagles' pass rush isn't able to get home with regularity, that creates a whole litany of problems.
Andrew, you're the man. We always love having you on. AD, you're the man.
Wow, okay.
He's AD. You could be CT, and I'll just be ass face, pretty much. So thanks, Andrew. We appreciate it as always,
Andy.
man.
Appreciate you guys. Talk soon.
There is Andrew DiCecco on the Comcast Business Hotline from Inside the Birds, and, of course, you're on 97.5 The Fanatic. So coming up next, we're going to continue talking about this Nakobe Dean thing. He comes in at number 24. I understand why Andrew says he should be higher. I don't know, dude. Like, the Nakobe Dean experiment might not be working out.
It's not so far.
It's too early to make a complete statement on it, but the fact that I have not gotten glowing reviews out of Nakobe Dean through OTAs and minicamps, and I know it's just OTAs and minicamps, causes some concern when this is a guy that you're putting a lot of bread in the basket of. Remember what Howie said about Nolan Smith. Like, they expect Nolan Smith to take a leap this year. I don't hear everybody saying that about the Kobe Dean. So we'll keep on talking about that, and maybe we'll try to look ahead to see where NBC Sports Philadelphia will have other players in this top 25 most important list. It's Kincade and Salciunas. Connor in for John today. You can text in or call in at 610-632-0975. We still have a lot more in store for you right here on 97.5 The Fanatic.
Fanatic Sports Update.
2 out of 3 ain't that bad. I'm Brendan Gunn, and this update is brought to you by...
Salciunas is brought to you by Avelo Airlines. Avelo is now flying out of Wilmington Airport with nonstop flights to over 10 cities, including cities in Florida and San Juan, Puerto Rico. Go to Avelo Air, AVELO Air.com.
It is 8:29 on Kincade and Salciunas. Connor in for John today. We hope you're having a safe trip into work. I forgot to say it at the top of the hour. Screw you, dude.
That's on me.
You didn't remind me.
Sorry.
I hope you're having a safe trip into work today. This morning, I will not say the miles per hour I was going, but I was going quick. Got out of bed a little late today. Still dealing with the nasals. And there's a car behind me. I'm like, dude, am I really not going fast enough for you?
Right.
I was going quick. I'm like, brother.
That's the worst. Like
really?
There's nowhere you need to be that fast.
Like,
Not at 4 in the morning, like 4:30 in the morning. That's ridiculous.
and of course, it's the big truck. I'm like,
Oh,
come on,
yep.
dude. Like, you really have to do this. Like, I was going fast.
Yeah.
That's all I'll leave it at. And it's
Wow.
like, come on, bro. Like,
Yeah, we had one of those on the trip where we were all late for a fishing trip, and
oh, yeah.
people were up straight through the night, and there were some triple digits maybe hit by somebody.
Well,
Not me. I didn't have my car
Not
down
you.
there.
Yeah.
I cannot be
Don't get your
implicated.
license taken
It
away.
ain't me.
You said it on the radio. It's on the record.
The guy who's driving did not currently. No.
All right.
He had a piece of paper that said his license was good.
Let's move on. All right, so still to come, we're going to have some fun when we start our next segment, which is at 8:47, and we'll do it for the rest of the show, where we talk about jobs from our youth, where we basically stole money. So start thinking about that. The reason why I asked that question, did you see the Monty Williams news yesterday?
No.
Oh, you didn't see it?
No, I did not, actually.
I know you've been off the record.
Big time off the grid.
So, off the grid, thank you. Monty Williams got fired by the Pistons yesterday
I saw that.
with 5 years left on his deal.
Oh, really?
$65 million.
Oh, my God. He's living my dream.
Monty Williams also, a couple of years ago, got fired by the Phoenix Suns with 3 years, $21 million left on his deal. So my man's got $86 million to just mess around with.
Yeah, but now he doesn't get to coach the Pistons.
Yeah, he might go
How
get.
will he
He,
ever-
he might get a better job.
Yeah, like in high school.
So I will tell. We're gonna have some fun with that coming up because, like you said, Monty Williams is living our lives right now or our dreams right now. What was the job from your youth that you basically were stealing money at? We'll do that later on the show. But what I want to start off with is this Eagles conversation to start this segment. So NBC Sports Philadelphia is putting together their top 25 most important Eagles list for this upcoming season. So far, they've only given 2. Brandon Graham came in at number 25. I think that's more of a respect thing. I'm not really expecting much out of Brandon Graham. I do value his importance of being a locker room leader, even though last year him just saying every single week that we're just in a storm right now, we got to get through it, ended up not being accurate. And I also did not like, as much as I love Brandon Graham, I did not like the media-driven shot when they fired Sean Desai. I don't think anybody was clamoring for Matt Patricia.
No, not at all. But yeah, that is the one so far on this, I know, short list right now.
Right.
That it's like more of that seems to be off the field than on the field.
Right, absolutely. So coming in at number 24 is Nakobe Dean. And I immediately thought, oh, hold on a second. He's got to be way higher than 24 because he's got to be one of your starting linebackers. And then I started thinking, wait, is he? So should he even be in the top 25 list? I don't know. Right now, by all accounts, the Daves and Garrows of the world, we'll speak more with Andrew DiCecco as the season goes on, as training camp begins. The people that cover the Eagles, that were there at OTAs, that were there at minicamp, mentioned Devin White. You see his athleticism. And again, this is shorts and T-shirts. We're not in pads yet, okay? But everybody said, look, Devin White's athleticism pops off. And then there's Zach Bond, who I think they like all of a sudden. I remember Vic Fangio straight up saying, yeah, he doesn't play the outside linebacker position, but we're going to try. And it seems like he's doing well. Does Nakobe Dean have a spot?
Well, the other thing you got to remember, right, because the two options are should he be on the list or should he be higher? This is top 25 of a 53-man roster.
Yeah.
So it's basically half the team is going to be on there. He's in the top half of most important players on the team. If he's not, he should not be on the team.
Well,
the position.
let's think about that for a second. So, your 5 offensive linemen, we're not going in order.
Right.
Your 5 offensive linemen are in that top 25.
Yeah.
Right? And we're not saying when and where, but your 5 offensive linemen, your top 4 defensive linemen should be on there.
Yeah.
So that's 9 already. Hurts and your 2 receivers, that puts you at 12. Goddard puts you at 13. I would imagine both your corners and maybe a backup corner.
Yeah, Saquon
puts you at
goes in
16.
there, too.
Saquon's at. I'm already at 17.
No,
and I haven't even gotten to one linebacker yet.
That's what I mean. By design, the Eagles have told you the linebacker position does not matter on this team. So
Right.
how can a linebacker be a top 25 guy?
I think a linebacker should be. Like, I think Devin White, to me, is an important figure. Because if he plays the way that he did his rookie year, he plays the way that everybody expected him to play coming out of college, all of a sudden your defense looks much better.
Right.
Because there was a gaping hole in the middle of the field last year. But I don't know if Nakobe Dean's good. Straight up.
Exactly.
I don't know if he's a good football player.
I don't
period.
either. That's why he should be higher on this list. Because it is very important that he shows that this year.
Is it?
Yes, it is.
You have brought in other guys. You brought in competition last year. It's like one guy retired,
You did.
and another guy didn't make the team, and Nakobe Dean kind of got a starting position out of necessity.
Okay, so Devin White and Zach Bond are good this year. What does that do for the organization going forward? Like, I want a linebacker who's going to be here a long time that you can trust to be in that position.
Well, it's just this year, the list, right? It's for
just
this year.
Yeah.
I understand.
But I also don't know if Nakobe Dean is that guy that you want moving forward. I don't know if he is who you want.
Well, he might not be, but that's why he's important, because this is a year where
I could
you're
say
going
that
to
I
find
want
that
Garrett
out.
Stubbs to be the replacement to JT Realmuto. That doesn't make me smart.
I mean, even go back to 2022 when we had adequate linebacker play out of TJ Edwards and blanking on his name, ended up back in Arizona. Kaiser White.
Yes.
They were not. I probably wouldn't put either of them in the top 25 as the most important player on that team, honestly.
I think you should have a starter at each position in your top 25 list. So that's 22 spots, right?
Right.
I'd argue punter and kicker are more important on the Eagles roster to winning than a linebacker.
I guarantee you Jake Elliott is in that top 25 list.
Jake's the go.
All right, so there's not many spots left. And is Nakobe Dean a guy that I believe should be considered one of the more important players on the Eagles?
Absolutely.
Well, then that kind of scares me, if I'm being honest with you.
Well, no, it's the same thing. Like, the contingencies for this are all over the place. Brandon Graham is not one of the 25 most important players on the field for the Eagles. He's just not. But where he's very important is you have a guy in Bryce Huff who's trying to go from a partial role to a full role as an edge rusher. You have a guy in Nolan Smith who needs to make a jump. You have guys at that position that need to learn how to do this at this level, and he's going to be a huge part of showing them the right way. Nakobe Dean is important because if he goes out and balls this year, your linebacker position looks totally different. If he doesn't, it's not just this year. You're going to have trouble this year. But if he doesn't go out, you're rebuilding this linebacking core again next year. You just are. Unless Jeremiah Trotter Jr. is his dad reincarnate.
Well, so then does that make him that important if you're going to go, oh, well, you're just going to rebuild it next year?
Yeah, because I don't trust Howie Rosen to rebuild this every year. I know this whole blind faith in Howie, and it's not that he can't do it. He chooses not to. They choose more often than not to rebuild the linebacking core. And I'd rather them have run into one with Nakobe Dean, and the way you're going to find that out is if he's a good player on this team this year.
So that gives you more value in him.
Yes.
More importance.
Yes, it does.
All right. I don't know if, honestly, dude, in the grand scheme of the 2024 Philadelphia Eagles, I don't think Nakobe Dean is a top 25 important player. I really don't. And to Brendan Gunn's point, it's also what the Eagles tell you about the linebacker position. And that's why you bring in a veteran like Devin White and you hope that you at least get something out of the guy. I don't know if Nakobe Dean's a starter this year. We don't know yet, right? Last year he was kind of given the starting job. There was nobody else. Here you go, Nakobe. Show what you got. He got hurt. But even when he was healthy, it's not like he showed all that much.
Well, look at it like this. If Nakobe Dean goes down, are you losing that much? But where the replacement's going to give you that much less than what he's going to give you? To me, it's not.
Zach Cunningham was your best linebacker last year.
Yes, he
and
was.
I don't think he was even close.
Yeah.
Like, I don't think Nakobe Dean came close to being as good as Zach. And I'm talking about Zach freaking Cunningham, with all due respect.
Like, if you lose the starting offensive lineman, you lose the quarterback, you lose the running back, you lose either of the wide receivers, your season is almost toast. If you lose Nakobe Dean,
no, you
okay.
it's like, all right. You have to see the other side of the coin. It's not just, oh, well, if you lose him, what do you lose? What if you gain the player he was supposed to be? What if you gain the player that was leading the Georgia defense, one of the greatest in college history? The guy who was supposed to be calling plays on the field and have the green dot on his helmet last year for this team.
A guy who ended up falling to the third round, and there were concerns about him being an undersized linebacker in the NFL.
I understand. I'm not saying it's likely, but if he turns into that guy that you believe he could be, he was a high-ceiling player coming out of Georgia.
He was.
And could that remedy the linebacker position for this year where we still have concerns? Yes.
Then you have to make a decision if you're going to pay the guy or not because he'd be coming up on a contract.
Right, he would be, yeah.
That's why that's important. That's why he's important. Because of what he could be, not just because of what he is.
I'm trying to see. Let me see the Eagles' depth chart. Because here's the thing. Like, the linebacker depth chart is still
it's not great.
Very bare. So right now on ESPN, they have Nakobe Dean as the left inside linebacker as the starter. Devin White, and then you got Nolan Smith. Then there's Jeremiah Trotter Jr., who we'll see, right?
I mean, he's going to be great. He's got to be.
Orrin Burks, who? Zach Bond, who they brought in, and then you got Ben Van Sumeren, who I'm not going to start sitting here saying I'm excited for Ben Van Sumeren.
Some action.
Yeah, exactly. Jalix Hunt, you'll see it's a project. And then Patrick Johnson's their fourth string. And I don't know, he's more of a special teams guy. Nobody's expecting him to go out there and make plays defensively.
Right, and Hunt and Smith play linebacker the same way Hassan Reddick played linebacker.
Right.
It's just like they're linebacker in name only.
It's just very weak.
No, I got you.
Weak.
Which is why I'm saying, I understand what Nakobe Dean is. I understand the likelihood is not that he turns into the guy that people believed he could be when he was at Georgia. But if there's still a belief that ceiling remotely exists, and I think there is some with the Eagles organization because they gave him the opportunity last year to be the starting middle linebacker, then he is important to this team because of the potential to reach that.
All right, so that's another topic that we'll open up to you. You can call in or text in 610-632-0975. Nakobe Dean is considered a top 25 most important player for the Philadelphia Eagles this season. I don't even know if he should get that kind of respect. I understand where you're coming from. If he plays well, then wow. Also, this defense looks great. I don't know if I'm expecting him to play all that well. And to Brendan Gunn's point, if he doesn't play all that well, does it really make that much of a difference in the negative? I don't think that it does, honestly. We'll reset the entire show coming up in the 9 o'clock hour. But coming up next, I want to have some fun with this. The job from your youth where you feel like you basically stole money. And I'm going to tell it right away, and I hope that they don't call me and say, can you give us some paychecks back? Even though I was making $8 an hour. It's Kincade Salciunas, Connor, and for John right here, 97.5 The Fanatic.
Now, Around the Bases with Andrew Salciunas on 97.
Let's go with my childhood hero, number 3. Call number 3 to the contest line, 215-263-0975 will win our third of our 4 $50 Wendy's gift cards. The best nugs are now even better. Wendy's new saucy nugs. Take the nugs you love and sauce them up in bold flavors, including buffalo, honey barbecue, garlic parm, and spicy ghost pepper. Try them all today for a whole new way to nug. It's got to be Wendy's. Open till midnight or later at participating U.S. Wendy's. Hours may vary by location. Call number 3, 215-263-0975.
Childhood hero number 3. I mean, your adult hero is number 3 right now for your baseball.
Yeah, that's true. Bryce Harper. Yeah. And then I had Allen Iverson. Good number 3s.
I thought we were talking about Rod Barajas, honestly.
No, was Abraham Nunez number 3?
Oh, my God.
Or was he? He was.
See, this is on me. I shouldn't have brought it up.
Now
we're going to go down the rabbit hole.
Now I have to figure this out. Abraham Nunez was number 3 for your Philadelphia Phillies. Dude, I almost cursed. That's incredible. The ridiculous jersey number knowledge that I can give you.
I don't know. Dude, I don't know jersey numbers remotely. It was the year the Philadelphia Phillies went to the World Series with Gene Segura, and I was doing Quizzo, and one of the questions was, what number?
2.
Of course. I had to draw a little outline of a jersey and put Segura's name on the back and just put different numbers to see which ones look like they fit. I'm so bad.
He's not a sports guy.
I ended up getting it, though.
That's good. I'm proud of you.
It took me a while.
All right. So I want to have some fun with this, and we would love to get your texts on this, YouTube, Twitter. You can call in as well. We'll just make it. We'll keep it quick. The youthful job you had, the job from your youth where you basically stole money, in honor of Monty Williams getting fired after just 1 year in a horrible situation, the Detroit Pistons, wrongfully fired, by the way. But he gets to walk away with 5 years of like $65 million, and he's still getting $21 million from the Phoenix Suns. So this guy's just a walking legend right now. It doesn't have to work again if he didn't want to. He probably will, but he doesn't have to. Connor, what was the job you had where you felt like you were basically stealing money doing it?
Yeah, I worked at a fast food restaurant in my freshman year of college.
Okay.
And 2 of my best friends in the world had already worked there for 2 years before I started working there.
Okay.
They got me set up with the job. So they were well liked. The manager was a good friend of theirs. And he was also kind of very similar to us in age and temperament. So it was not the most well-run establishment at that time.
Okay.
And I got away with a lot of stuff.
All right. Brendan Gunn?
Yeah, I mean, so back in 2013, the U.S. Open was around here. I was supposed to, be like a bar back and hang out and do all that stuff at Marion. And I kind of just didn't do anything. I kind of just watched golf the whole time, which is pretty cool. I got paid, not much money, but enough for, a summer for a college student. Yeah, to watch golf. So I can't complain about that. It's pretty much theft.
I worked 3 summers at a pool store on the Black Horse Pike in New Jersey. I will not say the name, but it's the Black Horse Pike, so you could probably narrow down your options if you just Googled pool stores on the Black Horse Pike. Awesome job, pool store. Great,
yeah.
Right? It's just during the summer, you're just hanging out. 3 years. One of them actually intertwined with working here. The 3rd year, I had 0 interest in working there. I basically told myself, I was already working here. I was still at school. And I was like, why am I picking up? I was doing 8-hour shifts. Or no, 12-hour shifts, 8 to 8, Tuesdays and Thursdays. So I was working full days because I couldn't work the other 5 days. They were cool with me only working 2 days a week, but I had to work open to close 2 days a week, which when you're a kid in the summer, do you want to do that? So that year, I somehow, because it was year 3 of me being there, they, I guess, respected me for whatever reason. It was a pool store. So they have this big building of all their stuff. They had all the filters and everything. And it was a freaking mess in there. Nothing was in the right spot according to our sheet. We need to get a pool filter. And it wouldn't be back there. So I somehow talked them into letting me just go back there for my shifts.
And just organize.
I would go back there with a walkie-talkie. The manager would give me a heads up if he was coming back. He would say, hey, I need to grab this. Can you just... So he actually wouldn't even go back there half the time. So for 12 hours, I just sat on my phone 2 days a week.
Wow.
And on the clock. And... there was no ventilation in this building. So if I got hot, which it was the summertime, so I would, we had the pools out back that people would look at.
You jump in?
I would just dip my head in. And if there was nobody around, I would jump in and I would have a different pair of clothes. And then I would leave we had to wear a blue shirt and we had to wear khaki pants. If the pants got wet, I would just there was no cameras in this warehouse building. It was so hot in there that they would dry in like an hour. And so I would just get changed back there.
So you just sit in your boxers in the back room?
No, I would put on the previous days or previous Tuesday's pair of pants that have already dried.
Garbage.
No, it smelled like chlorine.
It's playing some Temple Run for 12 hours in a row.
Dude, that's all I did. And then every once in a while, they would call back, hey, Andrew, put down whatever you're doing. I'm like,
okay.
Yeah, what do you need? There's some algae growing in the in-ground pool out front. Can you clean it? So I would get into a bathing suit and clean the pool.
That's a great deal.
It was so freaking awesome, except having to be there 12 hours a day. But I basically just stole money.
I forgot about one that's significantly worse than the fast food restaurant. In college, there were plenty of jobs, D3, like students do a lot of the jobs surrounding athletics.
Yeah, I imagine.
I did the shot clock for women's basketball games.
Yes.
And I swear to God, there's never been someone on the shot clock that has made more shot clock violation issues than me. I would get like 4 wrong a game. I was ruining the Centennial Conference's.
Were you getting yelled at by?
Oh, absolutely. Referees coming over to the table. Like,
really?
Yeah, dude. It was not good. But
you were probably getting paid.
How am I supposed to pay attention every 24 seconds? I was a college kid.
Well, that's your job.
I know, but I wasn't
getting paid that whopping $8 an hour, probably.
Also, that's hard, dude. The shot clock, it's tough.
Oh, I imagine that it is.
Find out if it hits the rim or not. It might have been. It might not. Shot clock. They blow the whistle, tap on their head to reset it. I'm like, I don't know what quarter we're in.
I went to my buddy's soccer game, and they didn't have the sideline ref once.
Yeah.
And the ref was like, hey, I'll give you like $20 if you do it. He said, help me out. If you think it goes out one way, point your flag.
Yeah.
Dude, the times where they made contact at the same time and the ball would go out, I go, I don't know. I'm not a paid professional. I'm just getting $20 to do this. So something light for the final hour of the show today. What was the job from your youth, or if you're doing it now and you feel comfortable telling us about it, that you feel like you were stealing money doing? I basically didn't work for an entire summer, and I got paid hourly for 24 hours a week, and it was freaking awesome. It's Kincade and Salciunas. Connor and for John. We'll reset all our sports topics coming your way next, right here on 97.5 The Fanatic.
Fanatic Sports Update.
They've handled a lot of stuff the right way, the Phillies have. To be honest, the Philadelphia Phillies, while we're on this real quick, if I may have 2 minutes.
Go for it, Connor. You're filling in for John today.
There have been a lot of tricky situations in this season that they've handled flawlessly. From the who goes into the rotation with Taijuan Walker hurt to start the season. Nailed it. What do they do when Taijuan Walker comes back? Nailed it by making the decision to keep Christopher Sanchez in the rotation. That has paid off. Now, the way that they handle the Taijuan Walker thing, we'll see. It's still too early. But the outfield, giving Rojas the chance, they started off hot with him on the team. So clearly they got him opportunity. When they realized that they had an opening to move him down and he hasn't been playing well, they've done it. When they needed to call up guys, they've called up guys that have played.
Yeah.
Handling the JT Realmuto thing, they've done it well so far. I'm not saying they have great options. I'm saying they're handling the options the right way.
Speaking of that, conversation we had earlier in the week, have you gotten itchy yet with another catcher?
Nah.
I haven't either. I wonder when people will. They did not look good the first couple games that JT was out. They then took 2 or 3 against the Padres. And the 5 runs yesterday, I don't really put on the pitching staff when maybe that ball should have been caught in center field. I'm not getting itchy yet, but I will ask you this. I'm curious to get your thoughts on this because you're Mr. Vibe Central.
Absolutely.
So, Marchand, I don't expect to go 4 for 4 every single night like he did the other day.
I saw you guys had this conversation.
We talked about it, and I'm not ready to make a determination just yet. But Marchand was thought of highly in this organization years ago. I mean, the last time he played in the big leagues was 2021. So, like, at one point, he was thought of highly in this organization. He was the other guy that was blocked by JT Realmuto, right? He's getting his opportunity. So far, so good. You know, he threw a runner out. His arm looks a little bit better than Garrett Stubbs's. I was not surprised at all that Christopher Sanchez pitched as well as he did with Marchand because he pitched to Marchand in the minor leagues.
Right.
Like, I wasn't surprised at all by that. I'm not saying will. Can Marchand be the backup catcher when JT Realmuto comes back? Or is it a foregone conclusion that Garrett Stubbs is your backup for the remainder of the season because of lack of options and because of vibes?
Marchand would have to be significantly better than Garrett Stubbs. Like, over this stretch, there would have to be undeniable arguments in favor of Marchand. I'm not just talking about 1 4-hit game. That's awesome. Like,
right, it was great.
He is the better player than Garrett Stubbs, I believe. But I'm not in the business of making marginal changes if you don't need to.
Okay.
Right? I think status quo is safer for a team over the course of this many games. It's not like the NFL where it's just like, we have 2 more games left and he's the better player. We're going to have to survive 2 weeks without the guy you like playing. Like, no, this is a locker room that you're going to try and keep together.
Well, then to that point, did you need to send down Rojas?
Kind of, just because of the optionality stuff. You didn't really have another option.
Yeah, but how many games has David Dahl even played?
Okay, but here's the thing. It's not about what David Dahl could do for you. You also have to think about what could David Dahl do for the team that signed. I know
it's not what you do it's not what the country does for you. Like, come on, really? What you could do for the country?
Yes, David Dahl is the perfect fit in there. If the Braves got David Dahl and he goes out and he helps them win a couple games, the Phillies are going to feel dumb for making that move when they could have sent down a guy that would not possibly have gone to another organization. If David Dahl goes to another team that you're competing with, and like, I don't know. I'm not saying he's going to win a team a World Series. That's insane.
I will lose 0 sleep the day David Dahl's gone.
Yes, if you have a better player.
Cody Clemens.
I don't know that Cody Clemens is clearly a better player than David Dahl.
Dude, at one point when he came up, we were calling him a savior.
And at one point, David Dahl made an all-star team at this level.
Okay, when?
2019, I believe.
Was he the de facto all-star, though? Was it one of those kind of things?
Okay, de facto all-star. We're talking about Cody Clemens here, not Roger Clemens.
I don't know if you remember Pat Neshek.
Neshek made the all-star because they needed to have a Philly representative.
Okay, then he was the best player on a Major League Baseball team. Like, what do you want me to say? Cody Clemens has never been that. I like Cody Clemens, but let's not act like Cody Clemens is a guarantee to be better. We don't have issues. My point is just marginal differences to disrupt the status quo is not a smart way to handle a baseball team. And right now, that's what Marchand and Stubbs is, a marginal difference. If that proves to be a bigger difference over this stretch, you absolutely go with Marchand.
Let me ask, how much of that has to do with the locker room? Is that
most
pretty much all of it? Yeah,
Most
because
of
let's face it, like you said, Marchand is the better player than Garrett Stubbs. Probably higher ceiling. Ceiling might not be that high.
Yeah.
Right? Like, it might not be that high, but he might be the better option than Garrett Stubbs. But going back to what I'm guessing you're saying is you don't want to mess with the vibe.
Right. Would I give up 20 points of average on the backup catcher to allow the locker room to be in a better space? 100%.
Yeah, probably.
And that's not that, I don't want the team to be better. It's that there's more to this than just best player, every position. This guy's playing better at this time. He gets the opportunity. Like,
it's not MLB The Show. It's not the best overall player in the game. It doesn't matter. There's other things to it, like the locker room.
This ain't math.
You need
It's
the
baseball.
vibes.
Yeah, you need the vibes, which is something that John disagrees with a lot.
Right.
Vibes. I do think vibes are important. I don't think it's the end-all be-all, but I do
No.
think it's important.
I agree.
All right, so we're talking about the Phillies today. Your sense of urgency when it comes to center field. How quick do you want the Phillies to make a move, and how much are you willing to spend? Because I know how a lot of people are. You want the big piece, but you don't want to trade up your big pieces. You're going to have to do that if you want a Luis Robert, right? You can't say, package Stubbs and Starlin Caba for Luis Robert. No, they're going to want probably 4 prospects, right? And probably in the top 20. I'm willing to do anything. The only guy I'm hesitant to move on from is Aiden Miller. Everybody else to me is on the table. I know people love the idea of Andrew Painter, a tall right-handed pitcher that can throw heat. I agree with you. I love that idea too. Kyle Drabeck was that guy. Sixto Sanchez was that guy. I've seen it not work.
Now Sixto Sanchez is 2 of those guys.
When have we ever gotten burned by trading a prospect?
We
Is that
haven't.
a great point Kevin Cooney brought up? Like, when have we ever gotten burned by trading anybody?
No, the only guy...
Carlos Carrasco was
I about to say,
serviceable.
he's the only guy that out of any of these trades that actually turned into something, and he was a throw-in. Like, he wasn't even the marquee.
yeah,
it was Jason Donald, it was Knapp,
Lou Marson.
and Lou Marson. Oh, my God, the tears I heard over Lou Marson. And he didn't play.
I got you.
So trade prospects.
You also have to be understanding about how close you are right now. There are no guarantees. The closest you can get is close.
Well, 2 out of the 3 past World Series winners went heavy at the deadline. And the Rangers last year went going and getting Scherzer and Jordan Montgomery. And they also got Aroldis Chapman. 3 years ago, it was the Braves, and they went out and got Jorge Soler, Jock Peterson, Eddie Rosario, and Adam Duvall.
And they won World Series.
Like, they went out
Absolutely
and made the moves.
right.
And the team in between that was a dynasty. So they didn't have to make a move like that.
Right.
Okay, well, guess what? You know what qualifies as a dynasty?
No, not the Phils right now. No
Not
way.
right now, but how close are they?
You have to win 2 to
get one first.
You have to win 2.
Guys, I got you. But think about how close they've been. They have been the best team in the National League for 2 years now. They currently lead the National League in regular season right now. There's an argument.
Were they the best team in the National League last year?
Yes, they were.
They didn't.
They were better than that Diamondbacks team.
Yeah, I
And
agree.
we know
but
that.
I could make the case that the Braves were better than the Phillies.
Okay. Well,
They
bottom
were.
line is
the Braves were the best team in the National
when
League.
you look at the
last year.
contingency of the last 2 years, there's only 2 teams in baseball that have been in the championship series. One's the Astros, one's the Phillies. We called the Astros a dynasty. Just because the Phils haven't
won World Series.
Just because the Phils
multiple
World Series.
I understand. The only reason they don't get that tag is because they haven't won the final
and
one.
so it's okay to try to make your team better. They basically ran it back with a similar team that they had last year, which I didn't have a problem with. But you can make improvements as the season goes on, and clearly they need to improve in the outfield.
I understand, and they're going to do that. But they are damn close, and people do not give them enough credit.
When is Andrew Painter pitching? 2026? Maybe next year at some point. He's going to have to go through the farm system first.
This team has won 2 World Series ever in their history, in modern history.
Right.
And then us as a city, as far as us 3 have been alive, have won 2 championships. Dude, I will sell I know you can't operate a franchise like this, but as a fan, I will sell the farm. Get me one.
Some teams have. Like the LA Rams traded away $1 billion first-round picks, and they won a Super Bowl. Is anybody complaining?
I mean, Dombrowski did it in Boston. He didn't go all out at the deadline, but he sold off their prospects, and they paid for it. But I would win the World Series to do that. I would.
I promise they're going to do stuff at the deadline. But it's a very fan thing to just say, okay, I do this to win the World Series.
All right, so
That's not how it works.
We got into this conversation the other day. So I brought up the trade deadline from 2 years ago. The trades, because Edmundo Sosa was an early deal.
Yeah.
And then they eventually acquired Noah Syndergaard, Brandon Marsh, and David Robertson. Was that, to you, like a splashy trade deadline?
I would say yeah.
Just to me, it wasn't. I liked Marsh and the idea of it, and David Robertson was pitching very well.
Right, and Syndergaard was a guy like you really.
I hated Noah Syndergaard.
Sure,
I hated him.
Sure, you hated the player, but he was at a much needed position. Like you had to go out and get a starter. We know how hard it is to acquire a starter at the deadline, and the Phillies needed that.
I've seen the Phillies do it 3 straight years.
So are you
now.
saying the outfield's not that then right now?
No,
I think it is kind of getting to that territory where it's a
like
need.
I got my starters.
It is.
I need an outfielder.
I know they do. I just told you like an hour ago. If Dave Dombrowski does not make a move in the outfield, he should be walked out of the building at the end of the year. We're all in agreement. My point is, you are watching the team that has run the National League. When you look at the past 3 years, they have been in the better position than any other team in their league.
But I don't want the outfielder to be like Andrew Benintendi. Like, okay, I want it to be a legitimate outfielder, and you're going to have to pay more for it.
Dude, yes. I don't want to waste this. I'd rather not look back on the season and say we were the best team in the National League, the best team in baseball, and they were fine with that, and they ultimately came up short. I'd rather just build on top of that and get the necessary piece to just
like now's the time to do it. They're not fighting for that 6th seed in the wild card. They're fighting for the 1 seed in the National League. It's okay to keep on trying to get better.
It is. I'm saying they need to try and get better, but there is no level. You're not just like filling up a percentage bar, right? You're not. It's not like the loading screen, and when you get to 100%, you win the World Series. You can sign guys. You can trade for guys. You can add to this roster. There are no guarantees. The best you can do in baseball is put an incredibly talented team on the field and build a locker room culture that is very good.
Yeah, incredibly talented team. You can make this team more talented.
How many years do we look back on the trade deadline and some of these big guys that move and we're like, why didn't the Phils do that, right? Like you could have, that was a gettable piece. You didn't have to give up that much.
Times.
If we go out there and lose in the NLCS again with this roster, I'm sorry. I'm not going to be happy thinking about 2026, 2027.
It will not be
go
this
out
roster.
and win.
They're going to do something, and there's a chance.
I mean, it's a guarantee that they do.
Yeah, absolutely.
But you said the same thing with the bullpen last year, and they got nobody in the bullpen.
Oh, you got Lorenzen.
Yeah, exactly. Who pitched like 2 innings in the playoffs. All right, what do we have on the text line, Brendan? The other conversation, the lighthearted one, because we're still going back and forth about this Phillies thing. The job that you felt like you stole money from when you were younger, because I don't think any of us, I'm just going to guess we don't have anybody listening right now that's a former NBA head coach that's been fired twice in the last 3 years and has $86 million still for them. So what's the job from your youth where you felt like you stole money from? B-Gun, I know a couple people have texted in about it.
Yeah, we got a couple checking in. And this one, the way it's worded, I don't know what he means. Well, I'll have to get your opinion on it. Jamal from Philly, I appreciate the compliment on the shirt, by the way. He said, I managed at Baines Deli in the KOP Mall while in college, and I rang up every other customer and pocketed almost $200 a night. There would be times when I didn't even have to cash my checks for weeks. So does that mean
he was literally quite literally stealing money? Now, you got to rip the manager of the store there. The manager's got to check the bankroll. Can I tell you, dude? So with my pool job, that was just thievery as the years went on. I was given the PNC zip-up bag of cash to bring to the bank.
Oh, yep.
Dude, it was like thousands of bucks. And I'm like, would they really notice if, like, one Benjamin was missing? Like, pools are expensive. Like, would they really? I never did it. Hand to God. All right, never did it. But I would go to the bank, and there'd be nobody there. And I'd be done in 2 minutes. And then I'd sit in my car for, like, 30 to 45 minutes.
See, that's fine.
And then I'd drive back, and they'd be like, oh, man, where have you been? I was like, bit packed.
That's the perfect line.
Line was out the door.
I just want to make it rain one time. I would put all the money back in the bag, but I just want to sit there.
Make it rain one time.
But I'll make it rain.
But I'm just like, yeah, listen, man, it was packed. There was this old lady. She didn't know what she was doing. And I would just basically be on the clock for an hour in my car, air conditioned.
That's the great line of good employee, bad employee. Like, bad employee touches the money.
And steals it, yeah.
A good employee, you don't do everything right, but you just tell them it was busy at the bank.
Basically, they paid me $8 to sit in my car.
Yeah.
$8. It was minimum wage.
Okay,
all right, what else do we have, B-Gun?
All right, we got Adam from New Jersey checking in. He said, I had a job for a smokeless tobacco company, a.k.a. Dip or whatnot, as a sampler in college. I would get into bars underage and had to hand out.
As a sampler?
Yes. So he would get into the bars underage, handing these things out. He said, I spent all my wages at the bar hanging out with everyone, all while doing the free tobacco that I could.
That would make sense. I mean, it's probably really bad for you.
Oh, it's definitely bad for you.
No, it's definitely bad for you, but That's pretty awesome.
Yeah, that's a good gig if you can get it.
I always wondered how the Red Bull people got their jobs. The people that drove the Red Bull truck around with the giant can.
Oh, yeah, and just kind of like stopped random places and just gave them out.
Would you do that like for a summer job?
I'd love to.
I remember my first week on campus at Temple when I was a freshman. There was the guys that had the backpacks with the coffee on their back. It's probably heavy. You'd probably get a nice little workout. And all they did was give out little cups like this and just be like, here you go. Would you like to try some Veranda? I'd be like, yeah, sure.
Sounds lovely.
I don't have money. Yeah, give me the free cup of coffee. I would probably give myself coffee as the day goes on.
Yeah, there's some careers out there that they don't understand how they exist, how the viability of them are, but that's certainly one of them.
But you're going to take it. Let's go to the phones. Let's go to Greg in Bethlehem. Greg, you're on 97.5 The Fanatic.
Hey, guys. I had 2 summer jobs. I'm not sure which one to go with, but I'll go with this one. I was working at a department store from 7 p.m. to 7 a.m., and my job was to work with another guy who'd been there a while to basically clean the floors and clean the grill and just do that kind of stuff. We didn't really have a lot of things on the agenda, but, we'd work like crazy from 7 p.m. until the store closed at 9, and then we'd put a couple of steaks on the grill, cook up a couple of steaks, and then they had a camping section. We pulled out a couple of cots, and another section where we had an alarm clock. So we'd set an alarm clock for 6:30 in the morning. So we'd sleep from probably 10 till 6:30, and then we'd do some work until the store opened at 7.
Oh, my God.
Greg, I think you're my hero.
I love you, Greg. I've been talking to you such a long time, but I've never felt love for you. I now do.
Well, it was one of those deals. The guy that was there ahead of me, who'd been there quite a while, seemed to have a handle on what we could do. And there was another time. Do you have another second?
Yeah, we got a couple more seconds.
Okay, we had mini bikes in there, gas-powered mini bikes, and they had security guys. So we'd time the security guys, and we'd lift the gate at the front of the store.
Yeah.
Run the mini bike around, for 10 minutes or 20 minutes, and get back in time for to close the gate and have the.
Greg, you are an amazing human being, and we appreciate the call. Imagine I rode a mini bike for a half hour.
Yeah, dude, that guy literally, you ever seen that Employee of the Month movie with Dane Cook when he was at his peak? And who was that, Jessica Simpson, I think, sent it?
No, it was...
Wasn't it? It was Jessica Simpson.
Yeah.
Was it Jessica Simpson or was it Carmen Electra?
Nah, it's Jessica Simpson.
It was Jessica Simpson.
He lived that life where they just lived in a department store, did whatever they wanted.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
Dude, that's amazing.
Okay.
The fact that he would go to sleep and then just wake up, store's clean. As long as they clean the grill after making the steaks, what's wrong with that?
I think category's over. I think Greg just won.
Congratulations, Greg. You won, nothing, but that's okay. All right, we got another segment coming up. We'll get to more stories of these on the text line. And, of course, more of your discussion points when it comes to the Phillies outfielders and when it comes to playing in Philadelphia, the difficulties of it, whether or not it's good or bad. It's Kincade and Salciunas, 97.5 The Fanatic.
Fanatic.
to you by the Bagster. It's a dumpster in a bag. You can get yours today at Home Depot and Lowe's. And for details, go to Bagster.com.
It is 9:31 on Kincade and Salciunas on this Wendy's Thursday morning. B-Gun, give us a number. You gave 7 earlier because you wanted to placate to John.
Well, we should probably initiate the new kid by giving 87, right?
No, I can't do that.
I'm kidding.
I can't do that.
I'll do 5.
5. Call number 5 to the contest line, 215-263-0975. Caller number 5 to the contest line will win our fourth and final for today, $50 Wendy's gift card. The best nugs are now even better. Wendy's new saucy nugs. Take the nugs you love and sauce them up in bold flavors, including buffalo, honey barbecue, garlic parm, and spicy ghost pepper. Try them all today for a whole new way to nug. It's got to be Wendy's, open till midnight or later at participating U.S. Wendy's. Hours may vary by location. Earlier today, Haley caught video of me eating the burrito today, and an angel started singing.
That's true. I don't even know where it came from.
I don't either. So I'm sure that'll be posted somewhere, and I hope you enjoy it, just like I enjoyed that burrito, like I do every single time I have it, because it's freaking amazing. All right, so we have our crossover with Kevin Cooney. I believe it'll be Kevin. Whoever wants to join in. It could be Ray, it could be D, whoever wants to come over. But Kevin and D filling in for Bob today, Ray producing the show. So we got our crossover coming up. Also the key 3. But I want to get to more of your texts, more of your calls. You can climb in at 610-632-0975. And I'm down to get more stories. The job from your youth where you feel like you stole money. What's the weirdest job that you did?
The weirdest job that I did. I don't know. Mine are pretty normal. Fast food restaurant. I had a job where I was interning at a place, and I just needed some kind of experience on like computer.
Yeah.
Because I was destined for a desk job. I wasn't going to do anything cool, and I got lucky with it.
Here you are here now, yeah.
But all I did was I sat at an Excel spreadsheet, and I typed in numbers over and over and over again, and there was this lady who sat – the lady who had sat in the desk that I took had died before, 2 weeks before I started. I was like, oh, whose desk did this used to be? They're like, yeah.
Like, don't talk about her. Yeah.
I'm like, oh, my God. So that was weird. So very uncomfortable place to be.
So you know me pretty well, Connor.
Yeah.
You know that I like to
talk sports
and enjoy some herbs.
Oh,
we'll leave it at that. So I think I was a freshman in college, and me and my buddy Alex hung out and then decided let's apply to some jobs. So this is before I got to the pool job. And so we applied for a county job. I wanted to mow the lawns at parks. Be outside all day.
Yeah,
just
sure.
mow. You know the parks.
Totally
Sure,
normal.
they're freaking huge, right? Like it's not my mower. I get to sit on it all day and just drive around. Get some sun, work hard, make a living.
Yeah, it doesn't sound bad.
So we went to the county building the next morning to apply, and they said, "Okay, thank you for your application. We need you to do a drug test." I say, oh.
To ride a lawnmower?
That's what I first thought. Like, really? But it was a county job. I understood.
Also, you're in a park. Like, you got to be around other people with that lawnmower.
Yeah, but I wasn't going to be high on the job. But anyways, I go, all right. So we walk out the building. And we're like, we're screwed. Like, we got no shot here. So we quickly Googled, like, all right, how can you get this out of your system quick enough? And there is really no way. But one of the things that came up was, like, eat a bunch of asparagus.
You did all this to ride a lawnmower around a park?
We didn't get the jobs. I'll be honest, we didn't even get the jobs because they hired people that actually had experience doing riding mowers. But we were young and stupid, and I kind of am still dumb. Wow. So I bought the rubber banded asparagus. And I didn't know how to cook asparagus, so I was just eating it raw.
No way, dude.
What is wrong with you?
It's not even good, Connor.
How do you have a child?
Well, sex.
Oh,
that's how, Connor. But yeah, I ate just raw asparagus for an entire day and didn't even end up getting a call back.
The only way I could eat that if I was doing what you were trying to get out of your system, that'd be the only way raw asparagus would ever be good.
Yeah, no, it was not fun at all. But that's what you do when you're younger. All right, let's go to Brian in Jenkintown. Brian, you're on 97.5 The Fanatic.
Hey, what's up, guys?
What's up, Brian?
Funny you say that. I'm on the lawnmower right now.
How about that?
So this sucks. But I got an interesting job. When I was like 16, I had gotten a ticket, and the judge said, how are you going to pay for this? I said, I don't have a job. He goes, hey, I'm going to give you this number, call this number. So in Jenkintown, there was this huge Martin's Aquarium. It was like, it had everything, all kinds of animals, fish. It was like a literal zoo in there. And Mike Schmidt owned a hoagie shop right across the street from it. And on the weekends, it was a madhouse. And there was limited parking, so everybody would just park in his place. And he got pissed. So my job was to stand in his lot and just stand there all day for $15 an hour on Saturday and Sunday and say, you can't park here. And that was it. That's it. And he signed memorabilia for me. I still got a baseball to this day in a case that he wrote to me. He signed jerseys, pennants, all kinds of stuff. And that was my job for like about a year and a half.
That's a pretty awesome gig. You just got to stay.
Yeah.
You're basically you're the anti-valet. You're just saying
you're a scarecrow.
Yeah, you're saying kick rocks. Thanks for the call, Brian. That's actually pretty awesome. I did not know that Mike Schmidt had a hoagie shop.
I just Googled it.
I found it.
Dude, Mike Schmidt's Philadelphia Hoagie Shops is what they're called,
awesome.
which is crazy.
Is that in the Chelsea Square in Lancaster?
Guy knows hoagies.
How about that?
Wow.
All right, real quick. I'm trying to see if this is accurate because I don't trust these ML footballs and these aggregates.
Be careful with those.
So apparently, again, I don't know how true this is, but it makes sense based off of conversations that we have had on this show. There's apparently a report that the NFL owners, they'll vote on it. It probably won't happen. But they're discussing a potential separate salary cap just for quarterback.
Interesting.
Dude, Trevor Lawrence should not be getting paid the most annual money in the NFL right now. He is not. We literally had this conversation last week.
Right.
I think this would be a great move for the NFL because it would create more parity, I think.
It would.
Like, Kirk Cousins should not be getting as much money as he is for having zero playoff success and being at his age.
Well,
and he's getting fully guaranteed or close to fully guaranteed money.
It'd be good and bad, depending on how it plays out, right? The upside of it would be more parities. That would be good for a team that does not have a guy. The downside of it would be that when you get the guy, because there is a chance, right? You know how Tom Brady talked about last year, the quarterback play in this league, the caliber is going down. That could just be old guy yelling at clouds.
I think it
tired,
is.
But he has something.
And, oh, by the way, not everyone's you.
Right.
Like, you were a GOAT.
They're backing that up. The quality was not great last year. We could get to a spot where there are a lot of really good quarterbacks in this league again, and you're looking at it and say, well, now we're turning into college with the transfer portal because we have this weird quarterback salary cap, and these guys have to move every 3 years, and you can't buy a jersey of the quarterback of your team because you're not going to want to pay these guys.
So will that stop the quarterbacks from getting that astronomical number in cash, or does it just not count towards the main salary?
It may not count toward the cap. So I'm reading an article on CBS right now, so this is accurate. So it's basically based off of what I've been complaining about for months now, that these quarterbacks are getting paid these incredible contracts for not doing anything. We literally went through the list of the top 10 highest paid quarterbacks last week, and only 5 of them have accomplished anything. Only 5 out of the top 10. So Tom Pelissero actually was on the Rich Eisen show talking about it, and he said at some point you want quarterback numbers to not go over a certain percentage of your salary cap. For instance, Joe Burrow and his contract for this year takes 25% of the entire team's salary cap.
That's
a
wild.
quarter of the salary, and then factor in Jamar Chase, and I'm sure he's did he get paid yet, or he's going to get paid? Like, he's going to get paid a ton of money at some point. Like, this is why the Eagles don't pay linebackers, right?
I mean, dude, Dak has a $60 million cap hit next year. He's not even guaranteed to be on the roster. It's just a dead cap hit.
So it looks like Pelissero said that they might adapt an NBA model where a quarterback could get like a super max, but then you can do other things underneath it.
Interesting.
Well, they're going to have to do that if a guy like Patrick Mahomes, who's obviously the best at his job, he's taking a lesser deal. So I think the NFLPA is going to be on board with that because they don't want the highest guy taking a lesser deal to help build the team, because that brings the contracts theoretically down for everybody else, even though Kirk Cousins is out there getting paid ridiculous. Trevor Lawrence is getting paid ridiculous. But if they have a separate salary cap and Patrick Mahomes gets what he's worth, that's only going to drive the price up for everybody else, but it's not going to count towards the salary cap, which helps.
Right. I think that would be a great move for the NFL, and I think it would create more parity, and I think I don't know, you wouldn't see teams struggling so much in certain areas because this number is only going up. Quarterbacks are only the salary cap. I know the salary cap goes up every single year, but I wonder. We always talk about inflation, right? Like at some point, cost of living is getting too expensive, even though we're getting increases in our salary allegedly, because we're supposed to try to have cost of living, right?
Yes.
At some point, the increase of pay for quarterbacks might outweigh the increase of salary cap.
And that's going to be a major, major issue.
Joe Burrow signed his contract 2 years ago and it was already 25%. That's before the salary cap went up.
Part of me, though, says you got to be careful because I don't want I don't want pro to turn into college where these guys are moving every year and you can't.
Well, if you still sign him to a 5-year deal, you sign him to a 5-year deal.
I got you, but the point is those 5-year deals often come from the teams that they're on. Now you're looking at a situation where everyone can offer the same deal if you have a salary cap on that. If it's like a max slot.
Well, you still have the money. Like, Jeffrey Lurie would still have the money. Like, you could still keep your quarterback.
No, you have the money. But the point is there is no, like, Lamar got this deal from this team and this deal from that team. We're all going to offer you the max.
Right.
Who do you want to play for?
Interesting. Okay. Just something that caught my eye I'm pretty interested by. All right, the Key 3 coming your way next. Also, our crossover. It's Kincade Salciunas, 97.5 The Fanatic.
Bob Cooney.
Look, I think it's easy that we've all come to the conclusion that pretty much.
Salciunas, 97.5 The Fanatic. Coming up at 10 o'clock, the midday show. Bob Cooney out today. Kevin Cooney, D-Line, filling in. Ray Dunn producing the show before Ray goes on vacation because it is vacation time across the Delaware Valley, especially here at 97.5 The Fanatic. John Kincade off until Tuesday. Connor in his chair the next couple of days. Brendan Gunn producing. So it's not the Kincade Salciunas Key 3. It's the Thomas Salciunas Key 3. Take a listen.
Now, the Kincade Salciunas Key 3. Today's best.
Is David Dahl good enough to stay up with the big league club just because he doesn't have options? I don't really think that he is. He has really shown nothing since he has stayed up. But the Phillies are 2-1 since they sent down Johan Rojas. So I don't think we need to make a federal case out of it. But Rojas isn't here anymore. So I want to first get your reaction to Rojas being the odd man out. What it told me, there is no way Dave Dombrowski doesn't trade for a starting outfielder.
There was nothing he was going to do in AAA. He wasn't going to hit 300 at the AAA level. So he wasn't going to get called up unless there was an injury. And then you feel like a secondary option.
Well, I don't know if that's true. I mean, he could have played well in AAA. We don't know. To me, I look at it, this was my premise from the very beginning. I wanted him to work on his swing, which they said they recreated, right? Like, they changed his entire swing from last year during this offseason, during spring training. And it clear. Look, I was down there. I saw him look horrible at the plate during spring training, and I think he needed more time to work on that swing. Now, to his credit, he went from hitting .046 to .230. Like, he did improve as the season progressed, but they themselves want him to still work on his swing. He could have worked on it for a month. They could have told him, hey, Johan, we're going to call you up in a month. Yeah. No matter what, we're going to call you up in a month. Just work on your swing for a little bit. I would rather work on my swing in AAA knowing that I'm going to get called up at some point instead of, oh my God, I better play well or I'm going to get sent down at some point. And that's exactly what happened. Options or not, he got sent down.
You're right. You're absolutely right. The thing that we've got to remember, too, is he wasn't really sent down because of the offense. It was because of the offense as part of a Major League Baseball player, but for Johan Rojas, the bigger issue was he hasn't played that platinum glove caliber defense and center that we know he's capable of. He hasn't run the bases the way we know he should be capable of with that speed.
Beyond Nakobe, there's a lot of question marks, to be frank with you. There's obviously Zach Vaughn, who's largely an unknown entity, being someone who hasn't played the inside linebacker position for quite a while, for an extensive period of time. And then you have younger players like Jeremiah Trotter Jr. and Ben Van Sumeren, and Oren Burks is there as well as a veteran. But there's not a lot there if Nakobe Dean doesn't pan out. And when you look at the linebacker position, which is heavily scrutinized, and rightfully so in Philadelphia, I mean, a lot of the plans hinge on Nakobe Dean being the player that the Eagles envisioned when they drafted him a couple years ago.
Platoon players can make a difference. Let's remember 08 started with platoon.
Absolutely.
And you end up getting a guy that makes a big difference on that team. Jason Worth becoming the guy. But it took time. At the start of the year, he was a platoon guy. Find someone who's having a good year. They don't have to be a great career outfielder. They don't have to be someone you're tied to for a long time. When we talk about a team in a championship contention window, it's not necessarily acquiring someone with 3 years of team control that's going to be here for a long time that's worth spending prospects on. You can find someone who gets hot, and they can carry you where you need to go, especially because the bar is so low based on where the outfield is played.
Okay. And you know how I am about prospects. I don't care. I don't care. If you trade for a Major League Baseball player, I'm in favor of that. I went back to 2022. Logan O'Hoppe was their 5th ranked prospect in the Phillies organization. You trade him for what ultimately became a platoon player in Brandon Marsh. Right now, your 5th ranked prospect is Starlin Caba, the shortstop who's in rookie ball.
Yeah.
All right, Trey Turner's my shortstop for the next 9 years. Like,
yeah,
what do I care?
Caba.
But here's what's interesting. This is my point about not caring about prospects. I went back to 2022. So Bryson Stott was their top-ranked prospect. Okay, it's worked out for them. Nick Abel was number 2. The guy can't get an out in the minor leagues anymore.
Right.
He gives up 5 home runs. He probably gives up more home runs than he gets outs at this point. Andrew Painter's number 3. That's fair. Johan Rojas is back in the minor leagues, and Logan O'Hoppe is on a different team. That's why I don't care about prospects. This is 2 years ago. It's not like I'm going back 10 years. I'm going 2 years. All right, well, that's the Kincade Salciunas Key 3. Connor Thomas sitting in for John. Speak for yourself. I did not hear Brendan Gunn.
Yeah, well, I mean, my ears must be stronger. I don't know.
Yeah, they must be.
Eat more,
well, it's because you can't smell, so you have good. No, that's eyes.
Oh, I don't know.
Jesus. All right, it's time now for our crossover. Kevin Cooney in for Bob today. Kevin, good morning. You got to turn on your mic there.
It is. There it is.
There you
morning,
go.
guys.
Oh, there you go. It was up.
Hey.
Good job, Brendan. All right, so before we kick around some of the stuff we talked about today, what do you got on the show today? We know that D is in with you today.
D is in with me. We're talking Phillies. Obviously, the outfield situation you guys have talked about. The whole idea of trading prospects and you know, Jim Bowden and Steve Phillips talked about Eden Miller being the best Phillies prospect since
Mike Schmidt. Yeah,
which drives me crazy. The idea also of when do you trade and everything, and kind of the running show theme is with Willie Mays now gone. Who's the best living player in each individual sport?
Huh?
Active or just living? Period.
Living period.
Wow, that's a good one.
That
Hockey. Well, hockey's easy.
It's Gretzky.
Hockey is
and
Gretzky.
basketball's Michael Jordan. I think.
Easy.
Some people are going to say LeBron.
Yes. Right. I absolve myself. I don't know how Connor could be so passionate about a conversation that you don't have any basis behind.
I'm right.
You did not watch Michael Jordan legitimately play basketball.
Yeah.
I watched him at the FU Center when he played with the Wizards.
Yeah.
Like
that doesn't count.
Right, I know. So I absolve. Like when people ask me, who do you think is better, Jordan? I don't answer the question.
It's Jordan.
I know Kobe and LeBron. I don't know Michael Jordan.
It's Jordan. I think Kobe's closer to Jordan than LeBron is.
Well, you'll spend 3 hours of the show on the NBA quotient of that. But
yeah,
man,
exactly.
That's a great.
But baseball now is really complicated without Willie Mays. I mean,
sure.
Sandy Koufax maybe. Bonds will get a lot of votes, even though he's not a Hall of Famer at this point.
I think Griffey should be. And
Griffey in the conversation?
Stupid. You got the Hall of Fame.
Griffey would be there.
Is that the Cooperstown hat?
That is the Cooperstown hat.
Bonds should be in there. It's stupid.
Well, I voted for him,
as you should have.
I didn't vote for McGuire because Bonds actually did it somewhat cleanly before he went off the.
He was he was the best player before he got on the
Him
juice.
and Clemens are different.
Right, absolutely. All right. One of the fun side topics we did today. What was the job from your youth where you felt like you stole money?
I guess golf carts.
Oh, that's awesome.
At Juniata? At Juniata.
That's great.
Oh, my goodness.
That's a historic golf course, man.
It's Augusta of the Northeast.
Dude, the first tee, you're up 100 feet in the air, man. It's
exactly.
Great.
And then, you go you cross the street under the bridge. The abandoned cars and everything. Yeah. First job was I guess golf carts at Juniata.
That's amazing. I was a Burn guy.
Yeah. I live right near Burn.
It was a 5-minute walk from me, so I would get done. This is when I was still producing Mike. So
right.
I would get the twilight rate, bring like a 6-pack of beer.
It's awesome.
Nah, you guys are both missing out. I used to go to FDR down south of the stadiums. That was the one.
If we hit Walnut Lane, we got all.
Yeah, exactly. Take care of all of them. All right, Kevin, we'll be listening. Kevin and D coming your way at 10 o'clock. Ray Dunn producing the show.
I want you to remind you, remember to support life-saving cancer research. Join me and our generous partners, Paul B. Moyer and Sons, in making a donation to the American Association for Cancer Research today at 975thefanatic.com/AACR because cancer research saves lives.
All right, everybody, have a great rest of your day. We're back at it tomorrow on a Fanatic Friday. John out tomorrow as well. Connor will be filling in.